All right, I think we are good. We good?
Yeah, man.
You see it? You see us? You wave?
Hey.
You waving at yourself on the? You waving yourself on the stream? Because I see you with the laptop.
Show off my stickers.
All your stickers.
Especially this bad boy.
I think I'm the only one without my laptop in front of me because it's charging.
So you have a big ass desktop in front of you, dude.
Well, I have to use that for the stream.
You can still search while you stream.
So I have like the stream on majority, and then I have the group chat up here. I can't really use the TV. It's too much.
Man?
You see
Yeah.
that? You see us? It's like you waving at yourself on the. Wait, who has audio on? Stream? Is your laptop audio on?
Mine? No.
All your stickers. Oh, it's here. My bad. My bad.
Dork.
I was like hearing ourselves talking. I'm like, where the fuck's that come from? So I'm Ty Jager. We got Noah Magaro-George on the top right, and we got Nic Yarbro on the top left. Guys, how are you guys doing tonight? I think this is one of our first podcasts that we were doing live. At least all three of us in the studio. So I know this is your first time on a live stream studio-wise.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm doing great.
Yeah. Well, no. You were at the just like live stream at the no.
We did the draft
show.
thing, right? We were all together, but we didn't do the video, right? It was just right.
Yeah.
It was just our voices.
I had that shitty ass desktop that was not like an all-in-one that could barely run the stream itself.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
But on our docket today, like pull up the docket, we're gonna talk about the Suns and them advancing to the conference finals. To the finals. From the conference finals, being the Clippers in the Western Conference Finals.
Mm-hmm.
About Monty Williams, Chris Paul. And then Nick has a question for us. What's the rush that we're going to talk about later as well? Along with any of your questions, comments, whatever you guys want to talk about, make sure to hit us up in the chat. We have both YouTube and Twitch this time. I don't know how. I got it working. So I have both stream comments on here. So we're ready for your questions and all that lovely stuff. So let's go ahead and get started. But before that, for more Spurs coverage, make sure to subscribe to the Locked On Spurs podcast, along with our podcast, where host Jeff Garcia gives you the best coverage as well as all the stuff on Spurs Zone, News for San Antonio Spurs Zone, where you can also find some of my content. I'm about to release a tracker for all the players and prospects that have been interviewed or worked out with the Spurs, as well. Kind of give you a small description. I may not be accurate. I'm going to have Noah look over that, just double check. I'm not the draft guy. But clearly, Mac Pena is the draft guy. But then after that, it's Noah Magaro-George.
Oh, also, according to someone, I work in the front office because I told them what the team should and probably is looking at in relation to Corey fucking Kispert of all people.
Don't worry, I'm just the hoe. I'm just the group hoe at this point.
Oh yeah, you're the hoe.
Noah's in the clear over here. He's draft guy number 2.
Yeah.
Facts.
Let's go ahead and get started with the Phoenix Suns. After a 10-year drought of not making the playoffs, in their first year back, they are suddenly in the finals. And Monty Williams, Chris Paul, for first time in his career, 16 years.
Bless you.
In his 16 years, he makes it to the finals. And wow, this team, and people might, I think we'll talk about the asterisk bullshit too later on, but no matter what, this team was still a great team this season. They went 8-0 in the bubble, out of nowhere, almost made into the play-in last season.
Yeah.
So, but how are you guys feeling about this Phoenix Suns team after seeing them take down the Clippers 4-2?
Yeah, I was really excited, one, because I think the Clippers are like one of the most unlikable teams in the NBA, from Patrick Beverley to Paul George to Kawhi Leonard to Marcus Morris. Like, you could go on for days, but
Fuck Zubac, dude.
I know that Chris Paul isn't the most liked guy, but I'm happy for him. He has been really good. He deserves this. Devin Booker deserves this. Everybody in that Suns organization, especially Monty Williams, deserves this. So yeah, I'm super happy for him. Great for them. I wish it was the Spurs. Yeah. It's not the Spurs. And so as long as there's a Spurs guy associated with it, that's who I'm rooting for.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm super excited. I think, a lot of people harbor a lot of hate towards Chris Paul in this fan base. We hate a guy for being good and just kind of flopping. It's you have your own take on it. I'm super excited. I think good for Devin Booker, whatever. I'm a fan of his. I love Monty, but my favorite non-Spur, DeAndre Ayton, has a chance to win a ring.
Yo.
I love DeAndre Ayton, and he is proving the people that, he became an afterthought in his draft. And, he's showing why he has number one overall pick material, right? I love that he did all this stuff. And I love it more that like they couldn't have knocked out a worse team. Like short of having like Karl Malone and Stockton on it, like just like the most unlikable team probably in history, or one of them. Especially with Patrick Beverley's display last night, which we'll get to later. I'm super excited, especially for Monty. I love Monty. I feel like some Spurs fans may not know that like he played for us. You know, he's part of the organization. Like I saw someone last night who just discovered that, and I'm like, yeah, that's why a lot of us are cheering for the Suns. Is we like Monty, dude.
Yeah, he was, besides being on the team, he was a vice president of basketball operations at one point, like right underneath Pop.
Yeah.
So besides being an executive, then he was assistant coach all over the place, was with Chris Paul back in New Orleans when they were the Hornets.
Yes.
He's been around the league a lot. He's been through a fuck ton. He lost his wife, I want to say it was 2016 in a car crash. I might be getting the year wrong, but he's gone through a lot in his time in his career, and just the way that he turned around that Suns team last season at the very end, took advantage of the bubble, and then giving themselves a number 2 seed this year, man, it's something that you have. If you're a Spurs fan, you got to be cheering for Monty.
For sure.
It just, you have to. And I've hit out the hashtag Spurs fans for Monty because that's what you have to do.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, we have to give it up to the Suns. At least me, like they took down the Lakers. I fucking hate Michael Porter Jr. They took him out of playoff contention in 4, Suns in 4. And then the cherry on top, they just absolutely slap all the Clippers. They beat them by 27 last night in an elimination game. Even though he doesn't deserve a lot of slander because of what he was able to do whenever Quitter decided that he wants to change teams. Paul George had a valiant effort, but then Pandemic P showed his face and was like, "Hey, remember me? I'm you." Like, but yeah, it was just a perfect storm of stuff. Like, I love it. Like, there's not a team left in the playoffs that I wouldn't want to win the ring, and I'm not even going to cheer for anyone at this point. Like,
just enjoy it. Yeah, just enjoy the ride.
This will be the most enjoyable finals for any Spurs fan since 2014. I can say that much. Like, there's not a team that you don't dislike, unless you're one of those weirdos that hates the Suns. Like, Suns fans may hate us because we were so much better than them, but there shouldn't be a rivalry. It doesn't exist besides a couple weirdos, I guess.
It's like, I think the only enjoyable finals for me, at least since 2014, was probably 2016 in Game 7. Like, I remember shaking during that game because that was so close.
That was an intense game.
That was probably the best series amongst all that, but then everything else.
I'm saying like teams that, but you didn't want either of those teams.
No.
Win.
I know. I agree with you that this playoffs has been filled with variety. You love it. You don't know who's going to fucking win.
Yeah,
and I absolutely love it.
I'm biased a little bit. My mom is a huge LeBron fan, like when I was growing up, so I'm a big LeBron fan. So I was actually pretty happy for LeBron in 2016. But again, like every year, pretty much if the Spurs aren't winning, like I'm probably not that happy.
Yeah,
like that's I don't know, but I am excited for this year because Ty's right. There's a ton of parity. Like you don't know who's going to win, and that's great. And the thing that I think is most astounding is people have been saying, oh, well, the ratings are going to shit because the superstars aren't in there. Guess what? They're better than ever. They're like better than they've been in years. And I think people genuinely want to tune into competitive basketball. They like a surprise. And, you know, maybe it's a one-year thing, but I don't think so. I think people were tired of seeing, you know, the Warriors in the finals, LeBron in the finals. Like they want to see something new, and we're getting it. And that's why I'm excited.
That's why people like 2019. Like Spurs fans might not because it's Kawhi, but
I hated it.
Yeah,
I know, but you had a new team out there, which it spiced things up. And this ratings have not gone down. And also, it's a big surprise. Not everyone is 16-year-olds and loves one guy.
Yeah,
this is not everyone is the 3 kids sitting around on the couch talking.
Yeah, like the conversation I had with that kid. I was playing basketball with a kid at our apartment complex. I guess he was like 12 or 13. I guess he was there visiting someone. I was like, "Who do you root for?" And he was like, "Oh, I root for it was like Donovan Mitchell and Kyrie." And I'm like, "No, what team?" He's like, "Just whatever team they're on." I was like, "The fuck?" Okay.
Some people are super like, and I think it's mostly like younger people.
Yeah,
are
it's that
super like
generation.
they stand players.
It's
like
kind of weird.
Teams.
I definitely I know he has like a Mitchell season like Twitter handle or some shit on there.
Probably,
like, just,
yeah.
Like, I know my brother, who's 4 years younger than me, he was LeBron fan. And I think lately I've kind of gotten him to more of the wider NBA, but it's like, I always gave him shit. It's like, you got to cheer on for a team. If you're not cheering on for the Spurs, at least cheer on for a team, not just one guy.
Yeah. Make sure you pick a good team though. Like, because could you imagine like being a bandwagon guy and you're like, which team am I going to cheer for this year? And you go buy like a Gobert jersey or something. Like, yeah,
That's tough. That's
the
rough.
Jazz. And then it's like, oh, they suck in the playoffs. Oh, Karl Malone's pass. Oh, no, they had an anti-vaxxer. Like, what's going on?
Bro, that's rough.
It's
That's
like a
super
comic.
rough.
Like people are like, oh, it's the most dislikable team, racist fans. Yeah, it's like Malone. Oh, that happened recently. Oh, like your franchise, like point guard, John Stockton's out here on like an anti-vax documentary. It's like, what is going
Not
They're
just
on?
down
any-
bad as an
yeah.
organization.
Yeah.
Like they
Not even
finished
just
first place
anti-vax,
and they're
a
down bad.
QAnon.
Yeah, it was a
Oh,
QAnon.
man, yeah.
It's so like who cares? Like anti-vax, bad, but like QAnon, like, and he's out there and he like I think he helped fund it or something like that. It was weird. Like he had
Yeah.
some part in it. What a nightmare.
Let's not go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's sad.
But hey, if as someone's picking the Kings fans, they're doing it for one of two reasons. One, they're loyal as fuck, or two, they're a masochist.
Yeah.
And they're bandwagoning the Kings.
Jake
man.
the Snake, this will be a good question to open up. Do y'all think Kawhi's going to bounce?
Actually, hold on. Before that, let's talk about the what Bane had asked. Chris Paul wins. Is he first?
Bane!
Is he first ballot Hall of Fame? Yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Even if he doesn't, he is. Like he's
Yeah.
a top 5 point guard in NBA history. So regardless if he wins this year, yeah, he's in.
Do you think he moves to, if he wins a ring this year and like plays well in the series, could he be top 2, top 3?
Maybe. I don't know because it's crazy. Like what he's doing as what is he 35?
36.
36 out of
He's
36.
36.
Like,
Yeah.
dude, that's insane. Like, I don't know. And obviously age shouldn't factor into things like MVP, but it should factor into like your career, like the fact that you're able to sustain excellence from the first second you're in the NBA to like now you're an old man and you should be on your way out, but you're actually leading a team to the finals. Like, yeah.
It's like Timmy-esque kind of. Like
It is crazy.
2014. And I'm not saying he's as good as Timmy because he's not. But like, it's giving me Timmy vibes. And the Suns give me like Spurs vibes a little. Like they're an extremely unselfish team. They play good defense, good team defense. They pass a lot. They know when to shoot. No one is selfish. Like Devin Booker, their established star, is like, you want to shoot, here's the ball. Or like, I'll take it, but I'm not going to sit there and put up 30 shots a game. You know, I'm not going to be this like selfish scorer. Like, it's a fun team to watch, and it's kind of like throwback basketball in the new age shell or something. It's really good. They play so, and I guess that's Monty coming from the Spurs or whatever, but who knows? They're just like, it's a perfect storm. They're just fun to watch, and I was never a Suns fan, but like it's just fun to watch. I don't know what to say. Like
It is. And man, I feel like I keep saying this, like, but I am like, I was low key a huge Suns fan, except for when they played the Spurs back in the 2000s.
Yeah.
I had like a Steve Nash poster on my bedroom wall. Like I was huge into Steve Nash.
Oh,
I
yeah?
thought I was going to be in the NBA when I was like 10. I was like, all I need is a growth spurt. I got the handles. I got the shot. And then I tried out for my middle school team, made like C team. And I was like, maybe I'm not that good. But like I was
Dude.
super into Steve Nash. So I've liked the Suns and I'm happy for them right now.
Dude, that Steve Nash poster, I couldn't have it hang up in my room with those eyes looking at me at night. Like, I guarantee they would glow. Like, that dude reminds me of Rango, man. And I know it's rude to say, but like, I'm punching way up. This dude's worth like $100 million, so I don't give a shit. But no, that's cool. So he's first ballot. Heavenly, hey, Heavenly. We can't wait to see y'all.
Everyone's in. Everyone's in
next
the chat
weekend.
tonight.
Kelsey's there. Hey,
Yeah.
Kelsey. But yeah, Jake the Snake, do y'all think Kawhi is going to bounce? I think he's going to bounce in spectacular fashion. And I think, like 2019 gave him an insane ring, like a good ring, you know, like you can't pass up a championship, but like, I think it was almost bad for him. Not bad, but like bad for him at this moment, because I think it severely overrated him, because they went into a perfect storm, kind of like the Suns going against like they should have lost that series if everyone was healthy. Dude, if everyone was healthy on that Warriors team, like they shit all over the Raptors.
Yeah, they lose in like 5 probably.
Yeah, 5, maybe 4, but 5 for sure. Like, it overrated Kawhi. He was in a perfect position where he looked like the leader because he was doing so much. But whenever he comes out of it, and whenever you really think back on it, he doesn't have a leadership bone in his body.
Yeah, it's Kyle Lowry. That was totally Kyle Lowry's team.
yeah.
I mean, he was the best player, but that was Kyle Lowry's team.
It was Fred VanVleet's team more than freaking Kawhi.
I tweeted this out, and I got some backlash for some people, but Kawhi Leonard is a Hall of Fame talent, but the leadership of a fucking role player.
And that's not even fair to role players, dude.
And, I'm saying like journeyman role players like that are.
It's not even fair to them.
I know it's not fair, but it's like you got to make a comparison.
Like some of the best journeyman role players, they get out there and they at least can command leadership of a fucking bench, dude. Like.
Some guys aren't built for that, though. And I think Kawhi, like, I'm not going to speculate on anything with Kawhi, like, personally, but I do think he's just sort of like a little bit of an awkward dude, and he just doesn't want that.
I think I'm somewhat convinced that he doesn't really like playing basketball as much anymore. He definitely treats it like a job. Like, he does not treat it like the love of his life.
I mean, everyone's seen that picture of him dunking with, like, no smile on his face when he was with the Spurs.
I saw a video that surfaced back when he was on the Raptors, like, near the finals or something, of it was a completely empty stadium. Yeah. And, like, no one was really warming up. I think it was an hour before, or an hour and a half before game time, and there was a fan on the tunnel, like, in his seat, and he recorded it. He said, reached over and said, "Hey, Kawhi, can I get a picture?" And Kawhi kind of stopped and paused. He said, "No, I'm gonna go shoot," and just walked off. And I was like, "What the fuck?"
He's kind of a weird dude.
And like weird, like you can be weird, right? But that's just like
that's disrespectful.
It's such a bad look.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he. I don't even think I'm gonna catch flack for this because we're talking about Spurs, like two Spurs fans. So, but like think about it. When Kawhi was here, he had the infrastructure of like Duncan and Parker and Manu, and so like he didn't have to be a leader.
Exactly.
And then he moves on to the Raptors, and he has Kyle Lowry, who I think a lot of people understand is an excellent leader. And then you move on to the Clippers, and they were good, right? They've been good. They've made it relatively deep in the playoffs. But like, what was the thing that came out last year? That like players didn't like how his situation was handled, and he came out and apparently was the reports were that he wanted to take more ownership. He wanted to be a leader. That didn't happen this year.
Yeah.
Like it just didn't happen, and I don't think he actually wants to be that.
Yeah, and I think they're hurting. Like I think they're hurting without Lou Will. I think Lou Will was a big voice for that team, and he had to like save their asses a lot last season. Like he would come in and just go off for 26 or something.
I think they miss Montrez too.
Oh yeah,
like Montrez. I mean, not traditionally. I don't think he's a leader, but he sets the tone with like his energy. He sets the example for everyone else, and so
like he was one of my favorites of that Clippers team that was actually kind of making it close with that Warriors team early on.
Yeah, and then he sold the soul for a first round exit. So whatever, buddy.
Sorry, Bowie.
Yeah,
but it's weird. Kawhi,
I'd take him back in a heartbeat. Yeah, I would sign Kawhi back.
Yeah.
Like you have to. Like in the position we're in, you especially if you're not giving up assets. If you're just signing him, like if he declines his player option and heads into free agency, like you have to throw money. You have to offer him the max amount of money possible, because injecting Kawhi into this team with a 12th pick also puts us instantly at like the 4th seed, at least like third, like between 2 and 5, we're there.
You're an instant playoff.
I think like if you have a starting lineup that consists of DeJounte Murray, Derek White, Kawhi Leonard, maybe Keldon Johnson and Jakob Poeltl, like you can add a few other pieces, and now you have people coming off the bench, like Lonnie Walker's coming off the bench. You have maybe even Devin Vassell may start some games. Sometimes he may come off the bench. That's a really dangerous team. So I'm 100% there with you. Like if he's available, you go and talk to him. But I think like more than likely he just doesn't really want to talk.
Yeah.
Right. Like he probably already has an idea of what he wants to do. He's probably already talked to his uncle about like what are the plans. Like, and maybe y'all can shut this down.
I don't even think that he has a voice on this. I think his uncle's just doing all the plans.
And he could, and y'all can shut this idea down. I think he would actually be like low-key really good in Dallas.
I saw that.
I think he would be, but at the same time, because I was listening to, Zach Lowe's pod, and he had that guy on talking about the Mavs. I really fucking don't think him and Luka would mesh well together, personality-wise, at all. I just don't think it happens.
They're two opposites.
They are polar opposites.
And he has an incredible temper, apparly.
Kawhi?
No, Luka.
Oh yeah. I don't doubt it. He throws like a fit every time he's on the court.
Yeah, and I guarantee Kawhi wouldn't put up with that shit. He'd be like, ow. I'm gonna go sit in the 200 section. I'll see y'all next season.
The 200s.
Like
that was also a really weird thing that happened.
And like He didn't travel. Like he had a great time traveling back and forth between San Antonio and New York, dodging us whenever, he was hurt or whatever. Like, I don't get it, dude. Like at least sit on the bench at least.
Giannis came back to the damn bench whenever he went out.
His knee went the wrong way, and he said, "Yeah, I'm ready to go back in." And they were like, "No, you're gonna sit out." And he's still. I mean, like, everybody's built different, and I do think Kawhi's like very unique in his like personality. Like, I know some people want to be like, "Oh, he's like Tim, he's quiet." There's a difference between being quiet and leading by example, and then being Kawhi, who I just think is like generally an awkward dude. Like I think he doesn't always take like social cues, and he takes everything like almost too seriously. Like he's not having fun. I think they're just two completely different dudes, and there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. And I would take Kawhi back in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah.
But I also think like I'd be ready for him to like snap in a second and be ready to get out again.
And I think that's the big. Oh, sorry, Ty, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'm not gonna lie though. I do have worries if this Spurs team does re-sign Kawhi, just because of what
I don't have any fucking worries.
Worries, not on court worries. I'm not worried about that at all. But you see the bullshit that he's been pulling with the Clippers. At least in this series, I know that some people don't care, but I have that worry is gonna be in the back of my head.
Ty, it doesn't even matter, right? Because if we signed him and he played a safety blanket role, like just checked out and played a safety blanket role similar to DeMar, he's still better than DeMar, and we did well. So if he's trying at 80%, like, it's still giving us time to bridge maybe some other draft picks, like develop guys a little bit more around a better player. And I was thinking about it in the sense that it would let people like DeJounte, like Keldon, like Lonnie or whatever, see what it's like to lead a talented team, to lead a team that would be in the playoffs, because they would get the playoff experience without DeMar having to be the leader. They would be able to lead while Kawhi provided firepower. I just think Kawhi's big deal is just he doesn't like being uncomfortable, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's just it. He just can't handle being uncomfortable. And like some people are like that, but he picked a really bad profession and like not like being uncomfortable. And he's set for life or whatever, but like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
and I see Jake the Snake also said, plus you still have cap space, but I think before we like get too deep into the conversation, I don't really think it'll like ever happen. I just don't think he would even entertain, like, I don't even think he'd pick up the phone. And I know that like a lot of players, including Kawhi, occasionally work out at the San Antonio Spurs facility during the summer. Like, that's not weird. Players work out at different facilities, and I don't want anybody to like read into that and be like, well, maybe he would want to come. No, I really think there's probably a higher percentage chance of me like winning the lottery tomorrow than Kawhi coming back, because I think that bridge is, even if he's still got like a good personal relationship with Greg Popovich and the front office or whatever, like I just don't see it happening.
Yeah.
I don't see it happening ever.
It's something that you should not be banking on. Not at all.
I wouldn't. I still don't think that him and Pop's
don't worry, Brett will finish
relationship is as damaged as people would hope. I feel like Pop, even though he doesn't appreciate it, would at least get where someone like Kawhi is coming from, where they're just not built for that situation. Like, they're not built for being completely uncomfortable. They're not built for like people like Tony kind of shitting on him. Like he has the right to, and he was like, for good reason, he was shitting on Kawhi. I think it was just like the mixture of Tony, of his injury, and then like immediately being like, you're the new face of one of the most storied franchises in basketball. Everyone besides like a 80-year-old geriatric Manu is gone. Like, you're our guy. That's it. And then you have to deal with LaMarcus, who wanted to be that guy, and now y'all have a power struggle. Like, deal with this. And I think he was like, out, done. Yeah. I don't want it. And I think Pop understands it and would at least not appreciate it, but kind of like, okay, like you just weren't meant to be here. Whatever, you want to ring with us, cool. Pop doesn't seem like someone to hold a grudge.
I don't think he does either. I mean, he's always embraced
said, like,
Kawhi, right? He embraced Kawhi after that first game when they went back to Toronto. He embraced him when they were at All-Star Weekend. Like, I think they have probably a great personal relationship. I think the professional relationship is like not there.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's there, because I think Pop cares about everybody. Like, he's interested in everyone's best interest. He wants to get you where you want to go. And if you don't factor into the plans or you want out, like, I think he understands we can still have this personal relationship, but I think our professional relationship needs to end. So I that's just the only reason why I say I don't think it would ever happen.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. Oh, I also had the theory that this is off topic, but speaking of Pop and professional relationships, y'all better hope I'm right. I said Dame hired Chauncey to weasel out of Portland and demand a trade to San Antonio where Becky could actually coach him. So he got the coach he wants a job where he wants to go. And now Pop can just tamper away and token. It's the perfect storm.
We can always keep our fingers crossed and hope.
Could you imagine how disgusting like Damian Lillard would be on this team?
I think he would be
insane.
I think he would be good, but then I think you also have to move on from like a Derek or DeJounte. Not that it would matter. At that point, you just do it. Like,
Yeah, you do it.
Dude, I'll give you my left foot and like 80% of my future income. Not really.
Dude,
Like,
you make DeJounte the backup point guard, he's going to be the best backup point guard in the league.
I don't
Sixth man
think
of the year.
DeJounte would want that. I can't speak for DeJounte, but I'm pretty sure he wants to be a starter. Like that dude's working hard every day to be like a starter, all-star. Like I don't think he is.
You would be
interested.
trading DeJounte or Derek, and if you traded Derek, it would be DeJounte and Dame backcourt, which is lethal.
Yeah, I think that's good. Sorry, I don't mean to move on like super
Oh, no, that's
abruptly,
fine,
but
that's
I
fine,
see
that's fine.
Brett asked a question. He said, "Do I know what the thought process of the team is deciding to interview someone versus a workout?" No, I don't. Like just 100% no. I just know if they have worked someone out, if they've interviewed with someone, everybody who they've done that with, I've confirmed with those players. So that's all I can tell you is that they definitely have worked out or interviewed, but no. And honestly, I think someone said it earlier on Twitter. I don't remember who it was, but most of the time it doesn't lead to anything. Like they're just working people out to work them out. They interview them just to get a feel for them, but they actually, a lot of times they don't even end up drafting them or pursuing them in any way. So like they're talking to a guy like Josh Primo, who's like the youngest guy in the class. I don't think they're going to draft that dude. I mean, to me, he's not a lottery talent at all.
Yeah.
Not that he's not talented enough to go in lottery, but I wouldn't take him right now. But yeah, that's basically like the short answer, Brett. So appreciate the question, and that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, it's also add on with the Spurs where you don't know what the fuck they're doing.
They're quiet. I mean,
Yeah.
they move in silence. Like it's impossible to get anything out of them. I mean, some people do. There's legitimate insiders, and they've got inside information. But most of the time, once one reporter learns about it, when it comes to the Spurs, that's when every reporter is learning about it.
I will say I'm still not completely shucking the Kawhi thing off of my body because like last month Jabari said that he doesn't necessarily think Kawhi would be adverse to a reunion with San Antonio. Like he tweeted
I'd be
that.
fine with that.
Oh no, I know you would. I'm just saying like Jabari is like Kawhi's guy. He always seems like he has been or extremely close.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I think Jabari was the first reporter to break that Kawhi news when it started happening. So, yeah, I think
Not
they
the
have a
first
good
guy.
relationship.
Shout out to Eric.
They have a good relationship, right? Like it seems like they have a good relationship. And I would keep my fingers crossed. I hope Kawhi ends up back with the Spurs somehow, even if he breaks our hearts again. It would be worth it just to see what that team can do. But yeah, I mean, God, there's so many possibilities for this team this offseason, and
I think it would
we'll
be
see where they go.
I think it would be hilarious. We can get off after this. An anecdote. I think it would be absolutely hilarious if after Pat Bev did the it's my time to Steph or whoever it was to. I think it was Steph is like, it's my 5 years. And then like Kawhi leaves them for nothing. It's like, nope, player option, bye. Like, nope, I'm gone.
He's
like,
out of there.
damn.
Yeah, I actually do think he's gone. I know we already said that, and we can move on from this, but
Unpopular,
I do think he's gone.
Unpopular opinion, I think the Clippers would still be good without him.
You'll need to
I
ask
don't know
your
if that's
insider.
Yeah, I think I think they'll be. Yeah, I mean, I do.
They'll be okay
They'll
without
be
him.
fine. I think they really will be fine without him. I mean, they were competitive even without him in the series, and I think Paul George is actually a lot better than like. I know people call him Pandemic P or Pushover P or whatever, but he's legitimately good. Like he's not a bad player, but he'd need help. Like I think that's probably like a borderline 50-win team, but they could be a first-round exit. So I don't know, but what else do we have on the slate today?
So all right, so Nick,
Yes.
what's the rush?
Okay.
What is that about?
So this was minor, but this is for Spurs fans. It's raining hard.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
I can hear that through the headphones.
I'm not sure that the microphone's picking up, but yeah.
I wonder if that's why it was flickering or something.
No, that's for some. I think that's the fridge. I think the fridge does that. I will hear the fridge kind of like have a little burst, and suddenly the lights, the main like we have. So we have normal like. What are these called? The lights on the ceiling. What are these called?
Yeah. I don't know.
They're inside the ceiling, and then we have a whole like chandelier. That chandelier always flickers.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, what's the rush? And this was just so I could remember, because I was talking to a few people on Twitter about like, I want Corey Kispert. Corey Kispert's basically the guy that's been projected that this falls under, but they're like, I want to trade specifically for like an older star or whatever, which is fine. But specifically, this is about Kispert, and a lot of people are on the Kispert train. Like, what's the rush there, right? Because people are like, I want to draft a guy who's going to come in, make an immediate, even if he's 22, make an immediate impact. Like, maybe he doesn't have the highest ceiling, but I want someone to play right now. I don't want them to spend a second in Austin. Like, I want someone who can develop with the team immediately. Like, we need it now. We don't need it. We're not competing, or we're not contending for at least 2 or 3 years. We're at least 2 or 3 seasons removed from being a top 5 seed, I think, or top 4 seed, at least. And by that time, like, you'll have people like, if we get Kai Jones, Garuba, anyone like that, which Garuba I think would be better than Kai Jones, maybe, I don't know, or like he would develop a bit quicker, be able to show off.
I mean, yeah,
more.
he's already played in a professional league and done really well there. So yeah, but anyways, you continue. Sorry,
but my point is, it's like, what's the rush with wanting players like Kispert who provide immediate impact, but with very little upside? Like, to put it in perspective, would you rather have someone who's coming into the league at Lonnie's age and has to go through 3 years of development with the Spurs and maybe play at a better NBA level around Derek's age? Or do you want someone to come in who's 18 or 19, play and develop in the NBA and be Lonnie's age by the time that they're starting for us or making a real impact? There's no rush, and there shouldn't be, because we're not in a position to just draft like, a plug-and-play player.
Yeah.
Only teams that are in the playoffs that are competing can do that. We can't do that, especially for shooting. Like Noah was saying, and y'all need to go listen to Alamo City Limits. They were talking about how, like, you can draft like Weiskamp, you can go undrafted. He was telling me about Duncan Robinson earlier. Like, outside of shooting, like in some off-ball defense, whatever, he doesn't provide enough to take a big swing at 12 on. And, oh crap, I forgot what I was going to say. I think it was about, oh yeah, I have a question for y'all, and y'all don't actually have to answer it. It's rhetorical. It's like, drafting Kispert would be like me asking the question, do you want to trade the 12th pick straight up for Joe Harris? And if yes, you need to go look at what happens when he's not scoring because he's doing nothing. Would you want to trade the 12th pick straight up for a worse Joe Harris on a worse team that he probably won't start on anyways? And I think your answer should be no.
Yeah, and I think I don't agree with people who want Kispert. I understand. I actually don't think it would be like the worst pick in the world. I think it would be really underwhelming. But I think I can understand where those fans are coming from, because when you look at it, it's like if someone today just walked up to you and was like, I could give you $50,000 right now, do whatever you want with it, or you wait 15 years and I'll give you $1 million. I think a lot of people would actually have a hard time and be like, maybe I want the 50,000 now. Yeah. And that's kind of how I see the situation. Like, yeah, you're going to get help, right? Like, it's going to help. It's going to help the shooting. It helps one problem, helps you immediately. Mm-hmm. But in the long run, like, you probably just want to hold off and get that $1 million later. And to me, that's how I look at someone like a Kai Jones. Like, yes, he has the potential to fail, and you may walk away with someone who is sort of like what Jackson Hayes has been up to this point in his career. Yeah. Or you could walk away with someone who has an all-star ceiling, who is a tremendous value at 12. Like, if you end up getting an all-star at 12, that's great. So that's the only reason I would really like say I kind of understand where fans are coming from, but I don't agree with it. Like, I don't agree with it at all. And I also think, like Mark Schindler said on my podcast, he was like, I think people massively overrate shooting at this point. Yeah. And I don't want to say like shooting isn't important. It is important, but you don't want to necessarily just draft a shooter at 12 or inside of the lottery. Just like I think at a certain point people learn, like, you don't just draft a big man because he can score in the post. Yeah. Like, it was valuable, but that doesn't mean everybody who's going to be drafted there is the right guy, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, if you get a guy who's a sharpshooter, you can get him later in the draft maybe. Yeah. And I like what you were saying, like, I don't know that he's going to be a worse Joe Harris. Maybe he is just what Joe Harris, or like, even then he could be like a Doug McDermott. But I don't know if you want to, like you said, do you want to spend the 12th pick on that? Like, would you trade that up straight up? And I think everybody would say no, probably. Or everyone rational would probably say no.
T. Duncan has an interesting question. Why is Lonnie the guy Spurs fans always put in trade scenarios? I think it's simply because he's shown enough to be a pretty valuable asset in a trade, but he hasn't shown enough to make him untouchable.
Yeah.
And he's shown less than basically every Spur besides people like Devin, who were picked way after him. Like, I think even Keldon has shown more than Lonnie on a consistent basis. Although I'm still not for trading Lonnie. It's just like, if we had to trade someone in a package for a high pick, you trade him because teams would want him.
Yeah.
But I also think he's one of only like 2 or 3 Spurs players that have shown that they have all-star upside. It's basically like him and Derek at this point who have the ability to become all-stars.
I think maybe I'd throw in DeJounte in there if he
Like
can
a
sort of
one-time all-star or
add
something
like
like that.
some other things to his game. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you there.
Yeah.
And I think also, Lonnie is like you're saying is Lonnie has really at this point been more flashes than consistent. Whereas like you've seen production from DeJounte, you've seen it from Derek, you've seen it from Keldon already. And, he's sort of just a flashes guy. Like, he hasn't done it on a consistent basis. So I think, that's why he would probably be the guy in there. And I also think people are really quick to anoint somebody like, this is the next guy with the Spurs. And he got anointed that so early on just because he's an incredible athlete. He can shoot the ball. He looked like he could be that go-to guy, and then he hasn't put it together yet, and fans are a little impatient. They want that. They want that.
And he can be. It's like, I think that we really shouldn't be trading Lonnie until after the season if DeMar's gone, because I think Lonnie could make an astronomical jump if he takes Lamar's touches and minutes. Because like he's shown when DeMar was out, we weren't playing great teams, but I mean he had back-to-back like 24, 26-point games.
Yeah.
He's shown that he has high-level passing. He's an incredible athlete. He can score from anywhere on like decent numbers. He has a little bit of rebounding. He's a great finisher, even if it's kind of inconsistent. He has generally a pretty good IQ. The biggest knocks are his handles and his defense. But even Noah had those numbers, right, where it was like he far and away has the hardest defensive matchups for anyone on the Spurs.
He did for a while on the team.
It was like 48th in the NBA, right, or something like that.
Yeah, he was close. By the end of it, he was third behind Derek and DeJounte. But
we were also playing shit teams.
Yeah, I think Lonnie's probably more of just like a average to above average defender. I think you're right about the handles. That needs to improve. His he's shown some really nice flashes of passing, but I think as a decision maker, he's got to stop leaving his feet when he passes. And I don't know if he learned that from DeMar, but DeMar was DeMar had already sort of mastered that. Like, I don't really endorse that, but he had mastered the skill of leaving his feet, and he already knew where he wanted to pass, right? Where I think as Lonnie is like improvising, like he leaves his feet and then he's like, what do I do? So yeah, there's a few areas Lonnie's got to improve in for sure. But to me, it's like, if you're not going to be a good mid-range shooter, maybe not cut it out altogether, because I think he can be a 3-level scorer, but maybe reduce the volume there, because I think that hurts him. He didn't shoot very well from that range, but who knows? Maybe he takes a jump. I'm excited for him. I think he could be good, and Ty hasn't talked in a while, so throw it to Ty.
So like with Lonnie, I feel like his range in terms of his floor and ceiling are some of the widest, and and it's not uncommon for some guys to have a delay in terms of becoming the player they really become. Look at Sabonis. Sabonis took like 3 teams and nearly 4 seasons to get to the point that he became at. Yeah. And you see this with multiple guys where they just need the opportunity. Lonnie's been stuck in G League, then at the end of the bench, and then kind of in a really undefined role this last season with just the personnel. And I don't think that's helped him at all in terms of development or anything like that. So it's, and people always really knock at him for his inconsistency. And I've been saying this constantly. Once he gets a consistent role, I think the consistency will follow.
Yeah.
Or at least it'll have the opportunity to, right?
Like, exactly.
And that's why I think you shouldn't necessarily be looking to move these guys unless you can guarantee you're getting like a Dame and I know not everybody's going to agree with this, but even possibly like a Ben Simmons, just like an established star.
Yes.
Right? So like I think the best scenario, and I'm sure you agree with me, Ty, like, and Nick probably too, let these guys just see what they can do without DeMar. That way you actually know what you have in them, and you can move forward with a definitive direction, because I still think they're kind of just stuck in the mud. They don't really know where they're going. They're just sort of there. They just exist right now.
Yeah, and and that's kind of, I'm really hesitant to move on anyone at this moment. just because and no, I'm not saying just not for if you can get a talent
on from Drew or someone like that. Like,
well, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like once a young guys.
Oh, you said anyone. I was like, hold on there, Buckaroo.
No, I'm talking about like Keldon, Lonnie, DeJounte, Derek, and all that. I'm like hesitant to really and Devin. I'm really hesitant to move along those guys at this moment, just because I want to see what they can do, especially without a DeMar DeRozan, like you guys said. And the Spurs really just need to figure out what's going to work and what's not going to work. And I think by the time that you do get the ready transition season like that, maybe you get a big surprise and this one just all works out. That's like the ceiling, that it works out and you're able to run with this team. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Or you figure out that maybe Lonnie doesn't work, maybe Keldon doesn't work. Just insert someone's name. It's just not working out, and then you can move on from them and start working with the rest of your assets. And I forgot who was the for the Bulls guy for SB Nation that was on your first episode.
Ricky O'Donnell.
Ricky, I think he went a little far in terms of saying that this team needs to blow it up if it doesn't work. I don't think you need to blow it up, but once you get through a season and you know what you have and you know what you should probably move on from.
Yeah. I also have one more knock on Lonnie, and it's like weird to say it's a knock, but he needs to be a little more selfish. Like he seems to pass, like he'll have a pretty decent shot, but he'll be like, oh, I could maybe set up my teammate right here. He'll like pass it under or something, or he'll like give up a three to like pass it out to someone. And I don't know if that's from like not cold feet, but like maybe a little bit of a confidence issue, but he could be a little bit more selfish when playing. I think it would benefit him a little bit better. We saw that a lot where he would have an open three and then he would kind of go like, oh, here, DeMar. Sorry, here you go. Or like, here, DeJounte. And, maybe he wouldn't hit them. Who knows? But he could be a little more selfish.
I think a lot of that can apply to a lot of the young guys on the team. But I think they also have maybe, I won't say a confidence issue because they're all in the NBA. They're all confident to a certain extent. But when you look at the team, like a lot of times they did defer to LaMarcus when he was still there. They deferred to guys like Patty. They deferred to guy like DeMar DeRozan. And so next year they won't have an option. If DeMar's in there, they won't have an option. They're going to have to figure it out. And I think that's part of learning is 20 years ago, I said this earlier today, 20 years ago, guys were coming in the league at like 22, 21, 23. Now most of the guys in the league won't be turning that age until like their third, fourth, fifth year in the NBA.
Until they ended their rookie contract.
Yeah, exactly. And we don't really know what these guys are. You've got to give them time to develop. And sometimes you can see red flags with certain players and it's not working out. You've given them heavy minutes from day one. Someone like a Dragan Bender, right? He was drafted fourth. He got minutes immediately. He played a ton. It just didn't work out. And you can kind of see where this, where his career is headed. But with a lot of these young guys on the Spurs, they haven't had an opportunity to have the green light, to have the chance to get out there and play and not be yanked from the game for a mistake or defer to someone. And next year, that's what we're really going to be looking for. I think not just us, but everyone in Spurs Nation is going to be looking at them.
And you're going to see it throughout the roster that it's not only going to be these five guys that we continue to talk about. It's going to be Luka. It's going to be Trey. You're going to see these guys get a lot more minutes. And Luka is at least the one that's like the prime example of he just needs some minutes. He needs some reps.
Yeah.
Like, and he showed what he can do whenever the team had COVID, but just give him a chance to really show what he can do. He's coming on year 3.
Yeah.
And you just need to give these guys the chance.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think a big thing that we will also be seeing is probably a shift in how Pop coaches, because if some rumors that we've heard from some people are true, and if it's a full youth movement, which, by the way, the other point I was thinking is that with guys under contract right now, we have far and away the youngest average team age. We're at like 23 is the average age for players on our team, which is far and away. Well, it's like 7/10 of a year or like half a year younger than like the Grizzlies. But if we go full youth or whatever, or maybe if we bring back just Patty, if we don't re-sign DeMar and Pop has to deal with like people like Luka, people like Lonnie, people like even like Trey Jones, who I think we'll see a lot of next year, he won't be as tempted to just be like, oh, miss rotation, bench. Like you're delegated to the bench mob now. I think we Hopefully we will, and I think we will see kind of a shift in how Pop handles stuff like that because he'll be forced to.
Yeah. And you look at the Suns organization, they were bad for years and years and years and years. But one thing that I really admire them doing is just accepting you're bad. Yeah. Let's see what we have in our young guys. Okay, Elio Kobo didn't work out. Dragan Bender didn't work out. Marquise Chris didn't work out. But you got Cam Johnson who worked out. You've got Cameron Payne, who's someone who didn't work out on another team, but now he's worked out for you. You've got Devin Booker who's worked out. Mikal Bridges who's worked out. You add that star, DeAndre Ayton as well, yes, who's worked out. And they've all had that freedom to learn on the fly. And then you add a superstar. Some of those guys have emerged as all-star caliber players and really solid role player starters. Now you have something special. And I think while the Spurs, I don't think they have anybody like Devin Booker in the waiting or DeAndre Ayton in the waiting, but you could. You could, you could draft a Kai Jones, and maybe he is not, I'm not saying he is DeAndre Ayton, but you get someone of a similar level with a similar ceiling. And then you end up finding out maybe Derek is a guy who could be your second dude. And then you can attract stars. You have all that money. And I know that San Antonio isn't a traditional free agent destination, but you have more money to pay than anyone else. And you're probably going to be able to at least get a meeting with someone and talk to them. So I think this team has the ability to be really flexible this year and just let their young guys learn.
Look at this.
We have a few questions lined up.
So before we do that, for more Spurs coverage as well, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Spurs. For again, we have an abundance of podcasts you guys can listen to, but Locked On Spurs, where Jeff Garcia is going to give you some, he's giving you content daily. And make sure to check out the Spurs Zone on News for San Antonio, where you can also find my content. Again, I'm going to have a tracker. We had a new workout today that was announced today, that Ethan Thompson out of Oregon State. I will have a little bit of a write-up for that. But you can find all that stuff on News for San Antonio's Spurs Zone. But before the age, you have 9 guys under contract. All but 3 of them are younger than 25.
Yeah, which is great. Jake the Snake. Dude, the thing about, and I get what you're saying right there, but there's only one top 5 player left in the playoffs, and he's not even playing. 5 teams have top 5 talents. 4 if you consider the Lakers having 2. We don't have to worry about having a top 5 talent. We need to worry about having a top 20 talent, because Devin Booker's a top 20 talent, top 15 talent. But he is damn sure not a top 5, and he's in the finals. Trae Young is in the top 5 talent. He's probably not a top 10 talent. He's vying for
most teams don't have one, like you're saying. Most teams just don't have one.
4 or 5 teams have one. That's it. It's just, and most of the time the teams that have them don't make the finals because they're too reliant on one guy, and they're giving them 30% of the cap space. So it's you don't need to have, you need to have a bunch of top 50 talents and then one top 15, and you're good.
And I think, though, preferably if you can figure it out, and I don't think San Antonio is a destination where you can do this, because if you're the Lakers, you can easily attract a guy like LeBron and Anthony Davis, right? And work out something for a disgruntled star. And I wanted to address that question real quick. What do you feel about fans that are willing to give up young players in order to get disgruntled stars and make the Spurs be relevant again? Well, I don't, the way you phrase the question makes it appear that you think that the Spurs are relevant. They're not. Nobody cares about the Spurs. They missed the playoffs twice in a row, and I know fans are always saying they're never on national TV. Yeah, you don't get to be on national team if you're bad. You're not on TV if you're bad. So if you can get rid of a younger guy, because not every young guy is going to end up being a franchise player. If you're willing to give up a few of them and get a disgruntled star, do it. If it, it depends on who it is, but most of the time it shouldn't. If it's Karl Anthony Towns, Ben Simmons, if it's whoever, you try to do it. But at the end of the day, I do want to see what the players are capable of this year. I think that's probably your most realistic situation, because let's be honest, I don't think the Spurs are going to be moving Derek and DeJounte or Lonnie and trying to get a disgruntled star, because half of the battle is going to be enticing them to stay. Even if they're under contract, we've seen players have all the power. If they don't want to be here, they're gone.
Yeah.
They are absolutely out the door if they don't want to be here. So I just don't know. And I'm seeing someone else say we don't have a top 35 talent.
We didn't with DeMar.
That's fair. I mean, yeah, that's fair. We don't have a top 35 talent. And
that's also attributed to the fact that a lot of the top 35 talents are getting close to retiring. They're just playing at a high level still. And all of our guys that could become top 35 talents are 5 years removed from their prime, which primes start around 26, 27. That's when real primes hit. Historically.
Yeah.
We're not going to have like I don't think we'll be relevant until probably the 2023 to 2024 season, which is fine. Like, unless, you're like an 85-year-old Spurs fan, like I'm sorry, but like, and also Jake, sorry. Yeah, we don't have a draft pick. Yeah. Sorry. I mistook that. Yeah. We don't have a top 5 draft pick, and that's, that sucks. I don't know how you did.
Going to like the top, we don't have a top 35 players. Like, we don't know that though. We still don't know that. And
well, I think like
you might have an indication of like where these guys can go, but you still won't know until you let these guys play. And
yeah, I agree with you on that, but I also think the odds that every single one of them who they drafted is like...
I don't think that. And I don't think that all of them, but again, you might have a guy that can be one of those top 35 talents within this group.
I think Derek is healthy, could be a top 35 talent.
I think he's like top
talent.
50, 40-ish. Yeah, when he's healthy.
Yeah.
I just think that the NBA is really talented, and you've got to have more. You just can't have just one top 40-ish, top 50-ish talent and then be okay. It's not going to happen because there's just so many pairings. Like, you've got Luka and Porzingis, you've got Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, you've got
both
Booker. I mean, you've got all these, like, you've got, but you know what I mean? Like, you've got a bunch of pairings in the NBA, like star to superstar. And I think for the Spurs, again, like just seeing what they have, rolling with the flow, figuring out what you got, hopefully, and to me, this is the ideal scenario. Ideally, you figure out that Derek is definitely number 2 guy. He can easily be number 2 guy on a championship team. You've got someone in Devin Vassell who could be very much like a Mikal Bridges. You got Jakob who could be easily better than...
Almost as good as Zubac. He
almost.
Could, yeah.
Oh, maybe. and so you've got all these good pieces.
Maybe.
And typically in the NBA, young teams are really, really bad. Like, they just don't win many games because they don't have the leadership. They just don't understand what it takes to win yet. And hopefully you figure out what you got, but you also end up somewhere along the lines of a top 5 pick. Because you end up with a top 5 pick and you add that to what they already have right now. That's looking really good. So, but I'm not advocating for tanking though.
We could like, maybe DeMar's like, you know what? I want to spend my off seasons in Cleveland. Go get that 3 pick, baby. And we could end up with one of the Jalen's, like whatever.
How many Jalen's are in this damn draft though?
A lot.
3 or 4 at least in the lottery.
There's a lot of Jalen's. You got Jalen Green, you got Jalen
Suggs,
Jalen Johnson.
There's a lot of Jalen's and a lot of Johnsons.
Yeah. Oh, what was it? Can be. Well, that's the thing, right? Like, can be. Yeah, can be. They can be there. Like, you know what people were saying about Devin Booker 5 years ago? Oh, he can be a star. Like, he's not there yet. Yeah, because, like, Suns fans were like, okay, we're patient. We'll wait for him to grow. That happens with every player not named LeBron James and Zion Williamson, right?
The thing also, I think a good comparison, at least with the Spurs team, that you can probably predict early on is this is maybe a Spurs team that was the Suns like 2 or 3, maybe 4 seasons ago. I'm not saying that they're going to be the Suns and have a 10-year drought, but like, look at that Suns team that was rebuilding in like a few years ago, where they first drafted Devin Booker, where they first got Ayton. They weren't that good, but they got young talent, and then suddenly that young talent found it. They were able to get Chris Paul in, of all players, to become their leader.
Yeah.
And suddenly it's clicking. And I think that's where the Spurs, I think that's might be the place where the Spurs are currently. They're getting the young guys, they're getting the young talent, they're developing it. They might get a top 5 pick or something like that next offseason, depending on how this team does. But then suddenly, I think things are going to be clicking really quickly in terms of these things can click in the next 3 years at the max, I would say.
Yeah.
And I will say we need to give.
I know it's not. I know you're not getting top.
Oh
pick.
no! I was laughing at a comment I saw that DeJounte would be getting mad for not winning and want to leave. No offense, but like if DeJounte leaves, it doesn't really affect your floor or ceiling. Like in the long run, you're probably still going to miss the playoffs or barely get in there without him. So if he doesn't want to be there for not winning, I think we would know by now. They haven't won in the last 2-3 years, so I think he's fine.
Yeah, he's buying into. He's bought into.
Yeah, he's here for the culture. Yeah, he seems to really love the organization. He loves Coach Pop. He loves the community. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't want to be here. I really don't think the winning thing is he's going to get mad about that, because I think he's of the mindset that he can contribute to helping them get back to where they want to be, and I think he can potentially.
Yeah, and I want to give. I think people need to give Pat Foe a little bit more credit. the way that we've navigated things, or the way that they've navigated things. Sorry, I found out a few people tweeted like, you can't say we when you refer to your team because you're not part of it. That was like a big
that's kind of the thing I've learned as like just kind of reporting stuff. You just kind of you learn to.
No, it's a joke. I was being sarcastic.
I'm being this like especially if you're reporting, at least that's what I've kind of learned. Like you kind of got to push away from the we part.
I know. Yeah, it's been hard. I mean, honestly, it's hard. It is hard.
Good thing I'm not a reporter.
Yeah, it's definitely its own challenge, but look at what the front office has had to go through in the past 3 seasons. One, you lose
Quit taking my damn point and shut up. I'm talking, god damn it. So anyways, we need to give Patfo more credit, right? Because I want y'all's real opinion, right? I want y'all's real opinion on this. You, all of you in the comments giving some good, some bad takes. Picture for a second that it was the Magic or the Knicks or Chicago, the Pelicans, any of these teams. Picture them. Picture it's 2017. Kawhi Leonard is your star. Y'all are in the whatever conference playoffs or the finals. Yeah, conference finals. He goes down, disgruntled, leaves, and in return you get Keldon Johnson, Jakob Poeltl, and like a borderline top 40, top 50 player. I would think that under those scenarios with almost any other team in the league, it's a fucking dumpster trash, or it's a dumpster fire. Most of these teams, like even teams that have okay front offices like the Pacers or whatever, they are going to try and ride the wheels off. They have no sense of direction. They're going to get bad value out of their players. They're not going to play them correctly. And all this just because basically their future gets completely derailed by Kawhi Leonard for a decade or more. That's happened with teams with players worse than Kawhi. That's not happening with the Spurs. Our future, I don't think with him leaving, our future is derailed for maybe 5 or 6 years instead of 10 to 12. You know, we go through a shorter drought because our front office was able to navigate to the best of their abilities. And I think we probably got a top 2, top 3 best trade we could have gotten. Unless you're one of those idiots that thinks that the Lakers were offering Brandon Ingram, Kuzma a pick, and then someone like that's just didn't happen.
Even if they did, though, like to me, the whole point of the Spurs holding on to Kawhi for as long as they did was because they were trying to salvage the relationship.
Yeah.
They didn't want to trade him. That was the last thing they wanted to do. So the reason that they ended up accepting that DeMar trade that ended up turning into that pick that became Keldon, and then they also got Jakob, was because they held on to him until it just was clear there was no way they could hold on to him. And at that point, you lose your leverage. And I'm not here to like completely stick up for the front office because in some ways,
kiss their ring,
I think at some point, like you look at what they did with LaMarcus, I think they held on to him for too long. I think DeMar, they could have held on to him for too long. And I do think at the end of the day, you look at some of the other moves that they made in the past, and I'm not saying like that were after Kawhi, but I'm saying that kind of coincided with that was like the Pau Gasol signing that ended up, you bought him out. You ended up having to buy out DeMar Carroll. You ended up having a guy like Bryn Forbes, who you invested so many minutes into when it was clear like that guy is just not capable of playing that role. Now he's thriving with the Bucks in a much smaller role. So I do think there are like a lot of places where there were hiccups for them, but I agree. It's not like a 10-year rebuild, but it's kind of approaching that. Like it could be 5-6 years. And so I do think like, they have some culpability, at least a little bit.
Like we're not like a 2014 or 13 Sixers team for 10 years. Or like we're not like some teams like New York, New York and Sac, we're not teams like that who go through like
there are dumpster fires for sure.
Decade-long droughts of playoff contention. I also
and then before we move on, the other thing people forget is Kawhi played only 9 fucking games that whole season.
No. That's what I was about to say. It's like we had no leverage. Like their best approach was to salvage that because you're trading a guy who's disgruntled, has all the leverage, and is a 1-year rental. That's it.
Yeah.
Like teams didn't want to give up too much for that. Toronto got lucky with injuries in the playoffs. Like that's about it. If things didn't go their way in that department, they lose in 5 in the finals. And
imagine, and that was a huge bet for Toronto. Imagine if they Imagine if they went out in the semifinals. They were one shot away from not making the conference finals.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
Like imagine it, but imagine if that bet didn't go right. You will not be hearing the same shit that we hear now. And yeah, while Toronto did get lucky, Kawhi did a good job, but it was a pure. In the 2020,
is it the Kawhi put in the work comment?
Yeah, I'm sorry, dude, but that's a shit fucking take, dude. Stop. Just stop that.
But again, it was a whole bet for Toronto, and and again, you gotta look at the hindsight. You gotta look at what was happening at that moment. No one knew fucking Kawhi's health, and that's why people were not going to trade. Add on the 1-year rental. It was for no reason. There was not that Laker deal was not in the process. Yeah. No way.
And again, even if it was, they were holding on to him because they wanted to bring him. Yeah. They wanted him to stay. And I guess Nick already addressed that Kawhi comment. That's like still in my mind, so I'll just let it slip. But
wait, what?
You guys already addressed that
Kawhi
as much
comment
as
that
I
you.
Yeah. Also, I want to back up the front office a tiny bit more with the DeMarre Carroll thing. Like, it's not like he came and didn't get a fair shake. He sucked, and he regressed massively from being a pretty good playoff contributor in Brooklyn. Whenever it was just like D'Lo and Dinwiddie, like he was really bad. Like, and whenever he was out there, he was always posting on Instagram, right, about how he's in the lab, was waiting for his shot. Every time he went out there, he looked fat and slow. And I'm not like saying fat as in like a fat person. I mean, like, he looked out of shape. He looked slow. His shooting was bad. His defense wasn't great. Like, something just happened. And I guess it's because I think he gave up within the first month or two of the season because he wasn't getting many minutes. And he was posting photos and stuff in the gym to like force a buyout so that teams would still pursue him. But the DeMarre Carroll thing, like Pau Gasol, yeah, awful. Bryn, too much time spent. Patty contract a little high, but it's for the culture.
And also, thing, that was a weird summer too in terms of that. The cap went up.
Yeah, the DeMarre thing, I think it was also to salvage the Marcus Morris.
It definitely
situation.
was, but I think the signs were like low key there. I mean, I'm looking at his numbers from his last season in Brooklyn. 11.1 points per game, right, for a playoff team. That's not bad. He came off the bench. He only started 8 games all year, 25 minutes per game. He was a contributor. But I think what's really important, you look at his shooting percentage, second worst of his career, 39.5% for the entire year. That's not good. 3-point percentage was all the way down to 34, one of the worst of his career. Rebounding numbers were down. Assist numbers were down. Steal numbers are down. Block numbers are down. Turnovers are up. So it's like the signs were low-key there, and he's 32 years old. Like, betting on a 3-year contract on a 32-year-old?
Do you have his playoff stats? Because I feel like he went off a little bit in the playoffs, and I think that's kind of what got him that contract. Because I remember, maybe he didn't go off, but he definitely hit 1 or 2 like really big shots, because I remember one of them specifically caused one of the bench mob moments where they like went out and did this, and like D'Lo was like air guitaring and stuff.
You're gonna be really sad when I tell you his playoff numbers. He averaged basically the same minutes per game, so 24 as opposed to 25 during the regular season. Only averaged 6.6 points per game on 24% shooting from the field, 29% from 3, 100% from the free throw line.
But that's it. Hey. Do you like?
But
free throw rating underrated, man.
People don't realize how much, and this isn't me trying to like make a joke about it. Like, legitimately, people don't realize how much the Spurs focus on free throw shooting. Like, we've constantly been one of the best free throw teams in the league for like the past 15, 20 years.
Top 10 at free throw percentage this season.
Yeah,
even with a poor Jakob at the beginning of the season.
But yeah, I guess it was just he was probably one of the last free agents on the board, I guess, and he kind of filled like a poverty Marcus Morris role, and
like just a role player.
Yeah, I guess role. I just remember.
The first game was really good. Like, it was like the first game he was like 6 of 9 or something and had 11 points, something like that, something to that effect. And then the rest of them were just garbage. He was bad. Yeah. Like the other games after his first good game, they lost by like 22, 16, 11, 6. So
I remember being at a Dallas game, and he came in and like for the third quarter, and I was like, what is he doing? And he had a few turnovers, something like that. It just wasn't looking good. And that's kind of whenever I kind of realized, like, this guy is not the same guy.
And the tweeting was weird. Like, not to go back to that, but like that play on the court in correspondence with his tweets where he was low-key like subtweeting Pop and like not getting to play. It just looks bad. It looks
reminds
bad
me of Trey Lyles this year.
Yeah,
a
at
lot.
least Trey Lyles didn't really say much. He just was there.
Yeah, well, he did like subtweeting on Instagram.
He
like,
did a
would
little
post on
bit,
his story
yeah.
where he
But it
was
wasn't-
like basically like laughing faces and like I think
Yeah.
one was like, wait till I'm gone or something like that.
Some-
Pour one out
yeah.
for Trey Lyles.
But it's like near the end of the season, though.
Yeah,
Pour out
and
some
DeMar was
Pepto
there
for Trey
from like
Lyles
the
'cause he made me
beginning.
sick.
DeMar was
Yeah.
like that from the beginning. DeMar Carroll like constantly.
I know it was
constantly.
so annoying. T Duncan 19 whatever. Please stop. Please stop saying Pop is in control. I mean, he's doing a lot, but like, dude, Brian Wright, like he's still doing stuff. Like he's making some moves, and like I truthfully believe who was it? Was it T Lopez? Yeah, I think that even though it wasn't a great move, Wright I think he made that Damari Carroll signing because I do remember Pop being kind of not mad about it, but he was like, or maybe not even flabbergasted. He was just kind of like, oh well, yeah, we got Damari Carroll.
I also think people kind of judge Brian Wright and like any front office. They just assume that like if no trade happens or no signing happens, that like they just were sitting on their ass, and we don't know that. We don't know that. I
I've
mean,
said
they're-
that for so
like
long
Brian
yeah,
Wright's
now.
for sure on
you've
the hot
said
seat.
that. I've heard Ty say that a million times, and I just don't think we can say, oh well, he needs to be on the hot seat for what? Like you have
Yeah.
assets, but not assets that are like super enticing that can go get you the star.
Yeah, we're
You
still
can't
drafting well.
yeah, you draft well. You can't sign every single person on the free agency market just because you like them. And so, like, yeah, I mean, we don't really honestly know what he's doing. Maybe in like, if the same thing's going on in a few years and there just has been no moves and they're still stuck in this sort of flux, then yeah, maybe. But I think
Yeah.
at this point, we don't even really know what he does from day to day.
I think a big one, or like an idea that I subscribe to, especially with Brian Wright, is that he's either doing something and he's being bad, or you have to kind of admit to yourself that if you think Pop is doing everything, then you have to give Brian Wright a chance after Pop leaves. So it's either Pop is doing everything and these are his bad decisions and Brian Wright's job should be safe because he hasn't had time to spread his wings, or Pop's doing nothing, Brian Wright's doing everything, he's in the hot seat. Now, which one do you actually believe more? Because I don't think it's a mix of like Pop and Brian 50-50. I think it's probably closer to 70-30, like Pop, RC, and then Brian. Like, I don't know. And like as soon as Pop leaves, Brian may leave. He may just be kind of like that figurehead that takes meetings stuff. I have no like that's
I
the
have
thing.
no clue
We
either.
don't
I mean,
know
I don't
their
know.
involvement at all, but we can all guess, especially how familiar the last couple off seasons with Brian has looked to other seasons. It's kind of like no one comes in and is hired to change, like GMs don't draft, sign, trade, talk. They don't do it exactly the same as the previous GM, like as RC. No, it's Pop. It's Pop. And when Pop's gone, I think you can give Brian 2 years, maybe.
Yeah, I
2
mean,
or
yeah,
3,
sure.
see how it goes, to see how he's doing. I don't know. It's kind of a weird subject, right? Like, it's just, and this is why I'm stuttering a lot. It's just, you don't know about that front office. There are people like Kevin O'Connor, Chris Haynes, like Woj, like all these people, everyone. What do they say? We have no idea what the Spurs are doing. None. And these guys, like, they're millionaires, or like their entire full-time jobs are like, what is this team doing? And like even
have
people
no
like
idea.
like Jeff Garcia, his full-time job is the Spurs. Like he is the Spurs guy. He's known as it. Joe Garcia. Like he has podcasts, he has connections. You have people with major connections. Like even Jabari, who was a huge Spurs guy for so long. They're like, I mean, yeah, we have a little bit of insight, but like we're not out here. We're not dropping a bunch of bombs before they happen because they're just so tight-lipped. Like if there are guys who are tapped in, that don't really know the trajectory of everything that's happening, there's no way that any fan like could even really guess. And that's why I'm still a little hesitant about talking about the team without DeMar as if it's a sure thing, because we don't know. Next year's starting lineup could be like Jakob, DeMar, Keldon, Derek, DeJounte, and then Rudy and Patty getting 6th and 7th most minutes off the bench again. Like we don't know. So yeah, it's all just speculation.
Yeah, and I think the greatest point to nobody knows is you see guys like Woj, they're constantly breaking news, right? Like before it happens, before anyone knows, before the lottery pick, before a draft pick happens, whatever. But like I think Jeff said it in the comments, but with the LaMarcus news, like nobody said anything until it happened right there.
Yeah,
because they are
like,
just so good at
Yeah.
keeping everything hush hush. And you know, whether or not people like that, that's just how it is. So I don't think it's fair to say, oh, well, Brian Wright is just not making trades because he's a terrible GM, or, you know, they're not making the right sign. Well, we don't know what they're doing. Like, and especially, and I'm not getting up on a high horse or anything, like really from fans to like diehard fans to casual fans to reporters to people who are locked into outside media, nobody knows. So I think it like we really have to move away from this notion that these guys are awful at their job because we just don't know. We don't know what they're doing. So it's not fair to say, oh, they're bad.
Let me tell you, brother, if Woj doesn't know that LaMarcus is being bought out on the hottest day of like trades and buyouts and everything happening outside of free agency, like in the season, if he doesn't know, and if it's broken to him through a random pop interview pre-game, you sure as shit don't know what's happening. So like a lot of people kind of need a reality check with that.
And I've always said this, especially with at least like the reported workouts. Like I've seen some people like, why are they not working out this? Like, we don't know. These are only the only ones that are been reported. These are the only ones that we actually know about.
And it's not like last year with COVID where they could only work out a certain amount of people. Not that COVID's not a thing. It definitely is. You know, it still exists. Be careful. You know, if you need to wear a mask, got to get back, whatever. But they don't there's no restrictions. And so, you know, we don't even really know how many people they've worked out. This is just from what we could get confirmed from reports, whether we talked to those people ourselves or we got it from other reporters. So, I mean, there's probably at least double that. Like, we just have no idea. We don't know.
Yeah. Do y'all want to, Ty, do you want to go ahead and play the game? The ranking?
So this kind of actually goes back to what we were talking about earlier in terms of with who do we not want to move and who do we want to move? Yeah. I want us to rank.
I want you to go first.
Out of the five guys, so Derek, DeJounte, Lonnie, Keldon, and Devin, I want you to rank them from least touchable for like trade talk into the most touchable.
I did 8.
So you did 8?
Yeah, I included Drew, Luka, Trey.
I wouldn't count those guys. I wouldn't count those at least.
Okay. That's easy because they were the bottom 3, like most tradable, or like people who you would trade for.
Awesome! Thank you to Jose Garza for subscribing. I didn't have a thing for that. Thank you for that.
Oh, sick! You got a subscriber?
Yeah, I did not have a little animation for that, but I'm assuming that's either for Twitch Prime or for YouTube. So thank you for that one.
Oh, Lopez, dude. Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like, if DeMar's back, like, I'll probably.
It's gonna be disappointing.
I'm gonna hit the bottle for a night and then I'll be good. But like, it'll suck. Do you have your 5 already? Because I
like that I came up with this. I came up with this segment and I didn't have it prepared.
Do you want me to go first then?
Yeah, you go first then.
I'll say mine, and then whoever's like, we won't talk, or we can talk about it. Sure. So my 5 in order might actually be kind of shocking.
So least touchable at the top. So like from top to bottom, with your bottom being like the one that you'd be more likely to trade.
Yeah. I think like I've changed my tune in the past 2 weeks, especially. So least likely to most likely that I would trade Derek, Devin, Lonnie, Keldon, DeJounte.
Okay. Nice. I just came up with mine too. And we started out similar. I have Derek, Devin, then I move Keldon, DeJounte, Lonnie. And the only reason I think I have Lonnie at the bottom is because he's mostly been flashes.
Yeah,
he's mostly been flashes. He's been pretty inconsistent. And I still think there's like enough of the flashes there, and he's still young enough that when you look at what teams are interested in acquiring, they still see him as sort of a mystery. Like, maybe we can get the most out of him. And I think with DeJounte, people are probably thinking like, kind of is what he is. Keldon, I think, is a phenomenal player. I don't think he's like the next franchise player, but I do think he's someone who has a lot of value, can contribute to a winning team. I think the same thing for Devin. And I'm still very much on board the Derek train of thought where, you know, he could be the second best, third best player on a championship team. And if he's healthy, you don't get rid of that sort of guy.
Yeah. It was wild hearing, your friend from the Bulls, and then even like on the most recent podcast with Gabe and Bill, like they were like like even like well specifically the Bulls fan, it's like sorry Ben, not Bill. I don't know why I said Bill.
Sorry, Ben Bornstein.
I heard the Bulls fan, and then like it's just kind of like a normal podcast, and he's like, "Holy fuck, I love Derek White, brother." I was like, "Woo!" Like, yeah. I've been saying it showed that he was our best player all around like last season. He was our best player, and it showed because when he was gone, we kind of sucked. And almost every metric went down when he was gone.
So,
go ahead.
With mine's a little bit all over the place. And mostly I don't want
Wait, can I guess it?
Go ahead
first.
Guess the top 2 at least.
I'm gonna do all 5
for the least. All right.
It'll go DeJounte, Derek, Devin, Keldon, Lonnie.
You got Lonnie right.
That's it?
Wait, so say it again.
Is it Derek DeJounte?
No, no. Actually, it's Derek. I have Derek, Keldon, Devin, DeJounte, and Lonnie. And
I'm glad that DeJounte is so low with everyone. Not in a bad way.
And I don't put Lonnie as at 4. I don't put DeJounte at 4 for no reason. I'm not sold on him. I don't want to trade Keldon and Devin at this moment.
Yeah.
Because I want to see what they have. They have only been Devin's only going to his second season, and Keldon's essentially going to his second season as a kind of a full-time guy. So I wanted to see what these guys can do, and that's why I had them like in the middle of this. But go on with the Derek. Derek's probably been our MVP the past 3 seasons.
Yeah.
In terms of best all-around player. Whenever he went down the first season that he got really full run, and he went down for that rodeo road trip, and the Spurs just fucking sucked. That was because he was out, and he carried in that Denver series, and he's just shown whenever you had him healthy this season, the Spurs were doing really good. They were on a solid run. They were beating both LA teams. They were on a solid run, and then once you lost in the COVID, the team just took a big dip.
Yeah.
And I think he's the most important player on this team in terms of what he's bringing to the court in all-around play. He's being an anchor on defense, no matter what you want to say. Mm-hmm. And then offensively, I think he might be a little underrated.
Yeah. I want to explain why, because I've been such a ridiculous DeJounte stan, especially for the past 2 years. I have him as most touchable, not because I don't like him. I think we can all agree right now he is clearly far and away at least the second best player on this team that we have under contract at least. And I liked him more than DeMar this season, and it was a tiny sample size, but we didn't win a single game without DeJounte, and we won games without DeMar. But that's beside the point. That's just me being kind of stupid. I have him at most tradable because we kind of already know what he is. His skills will improve from here on out, but we know where he is. We know that he can't be the number 1 option on a team. He can be the number 2, but he would be an incredible number 3 option on a team. And the last reason, or the second to last reason is that he has, and I see it like in NBA Twitter, like it's always brought up in every shitty Bleacher Report article. He has incredible trade value, DeJounte does. Like, I think he has really high trade value for contending teams because almost every single team in the league can use a DeJounte, especially ones with established stars. And the last point is just, I think that the 3 people above him, Devin, Lonnie, and Keldon, like, I think they can be greater than DeJounte for the team. And I just think Derek is way too far ahead of DeJounte in skill and production, output, ability to play. And he's played better in the playoffs than DeJounte ever has. And I know he's older and got a little bit more run, but like, I just think Derek is like way too clearly our best player. And but in a weird way, I don't think he has quite as much trade value as DeJounte just because he's a bit older and a bit more injury prone.
Yeah.
And I think I'd rather work with him through injuries than trade him for less than he's worth and have a team work with him through injuries and then make him like a better CJ McCollum or something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much there with y'all. I don't think our lists were like all that different, so
yeah,
I mean, I'm fine with that.
As long as no one had DeJounte, or no, as long as everyone had Derek, their most untouchable right now, we're all good.
So, Jose, is your list from left to right, from least? So put your least touchable at the far left, and then your most touchable on the far right, just so I can understand your list. Also, if you have your ranking, please put yours in the comments. We'd like to. I think we're all curious to see what you guys think, because again, this is the best part about these streams that we're also going to be putting on our podcast feed. This is essentially really an At the Line episode that we're going to put on the podcast feed. I love having the comments just because I do get to interact. We get questions talked about. It helps us at least with topics that you guys want to know. So please keep contributing to the comments. We do appreciate it.
Yeah. After Jose, T. Lopez has been talking a lot. I feel like we need to answer him because he actually has some pretty decent questions.
So, also, by the way, Gregory Castillo, I'm seeing you in the YouTube chat. Thank you so much.
Derek needs his Bogdanovich next to him like Trey has. Yeah. I think Derek is like could play that Bogdanovich role, except better because he's better than Bogdanovich in my mind.
Well, I think like honestly, if we're looking at just like a pure player comp, probably, and everybody's unique in their own way. But I think if you like switched out Drew Holiday with Derek White, I don't think you'd lose a lot of value there. I think they're essentially play like a similar role. And so I think that's what he could be. I think he could be like the second, third best player on a championship team because I do think the Bucks are good enough to win a championship.
And he doesn't put up like 4 for 28 in a game 7.
And like everybody has duds, right? Like everybody has a dud. I do think that Drew Holiday is still like, to me, better than Derek White.
Yeah.
I would take him over Derek White, but I think that's a guy who you're looking at similar value. Yeah. And if that's somebody who you have on your roster, unless you're planning on that guy being number one, then if he's your number one, you probably need to move on. But if you already understand that he's going to be your number 2, number 3, and you can add those other pieces, then I'm totally happy with that. Most tradable. Somebody put theirs up there. They said
give me
White, Devin, Lonnie, DeJounte. I'm still confused.
Does that go from most tradable to least tradable?
I've said it that least. It goes from least tradable to most.
Well, we're asking him because he put most tradable and then did that. So, T. Duncan, is White your most tradable and Keldon your least tradable, or what?
So, and with Derek though, give me a healthy Derek White all season long. He's on an all defensive team. I think that
probably.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the defensive teams the voting has been really, really weird. And like, I'm not going to single out anybody because there's been a lot of really bad voting across it. Like I went ahead and looked through the entire, like you can find that by the way, if you really want to, it's publicly available. You can find who the reporters were, what they voted for,
where they're from too.
I think people are going to be surprised when they look at somehow how Monty Williams didn't end up coach of the year. Like I understand Tom Thibodeau did a really good job with New York, brought him back to the playoffs, had a really respectable season, helped Julius Randle with his breakout. But come on, Monty Williams was coach of the year. He was coach of the year and he got robbed of that because that's how the media voted. And like I'm a part of the media, but I didn't vote. Like, I don't have the privilege to vote. But they give people established like people like Michael Wilbon are getting to vote, and they're voting people who you would not. Even if you're watching basketball, those guys don't deserve those votes. So there's a lot of that going on. So I think Derek White, if we got a chance to get everybody who was like actually educated on basketball, got them a vote, I think Derek White would be on your all defensive team if he's healthy, like Ty said.
Yeah.
Also, it's narrative voting too. Fucking narrative voting.
Yeah, narrative voting is a big deal. And I think some of those interesting votes, like, like different players, like random guards on teams like the Pacers and stuff. All
right, so Team Duncan did the opposite. So White with the most tradable going down
because he can't stay. Well, I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion, but
like I get it with the injury, but it's that again, everyone has their own point. That's why there's 3 of us on here because everyone's gonna have their own. I know that Noah and I certainly don't agree on some ceilings. That's just how it is.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fair. I'm fine with everybody having their own opinion, and
we're all friends here.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want. I always think like it's nice to have like sort of a safe space. I like having safe spaces, but at the same time, like if I really think you're wrong, I'll probably tell you. Hopefully, I will not like shit all over you because that's not really what I'm here to do. But I will call you out like if I think it's really bad. And personally, I'm not a huge fan of.
That's also why we have Nick here. Nick is not afraid to shit on you.
Oh yeah.
Nick will call you out, and if you can't handle Nick, I'm sorry. That's his role on this team.
Yeah. I think that people voting like those weird Pacers guards and stuff, I think those are people who like to be contrarians and are just kind of because it's an easy cast, right? Like you're casting that bait out into the wild, and you're hoping that maybe one publication picks it up and is like, "What kind of fish is this?" And then boom, you have a little bit of recognition, and maybe it gets you a few more clicks and stuff. And I think that's like it's not cool for the players, but like that's kind of how some beat writers are using media voting. It's like a tool for them now, not to actually express their opinion, but to garner a little bit more notoriety or infamy. Like it doesn't really matter.
I'm gonna run down the list of things real quick. Like Spurs Film Room it says on YouTube, smash that like button, hit subscribe, hit follow, whatever your option is for Twitch or YouTube. I know it's two different ones. Make sure to check out everyone's Twitter at _Magaro, at Nic Yarbro, at the Ty Jager. Make sure to check out Spurs Zone as well. Jeff G Spurs Zone for who's awesomely helping us with the stream and everything like that. Like honestly, Jeff's been helping me out so much and getting stuff that I need for this stream, so I gotta give him a shout out for that. Again, make sure to check out all the websites as well. But we'll keep going. With T Duncan was saying with popularity vote, it sadly is, and we were seeing that with at least with some of the first defensive teams. Like I'm not sure Kawhi really deserved a first team defensive.
He didn't. No, he didn't. Oh, but no, you would like that YouTube from Castillo, the last two.
Oh,
Hell
yeah, thanks.
man.
If you guys send me to Vegas, that's dope. I could give everybody an update real quick. Go
ahead.
So I said it the other day that y'all helped me get to 1,200 or 1,100 rather, and we're actually closing in on $1,300, and my goal is 1,500 because that's pretty much half of the bill. So y'all are phenomenal.
Dude.
I
Let's
appreciate
go.
everybody who's contributed, even like $1. And I think of it this way: if everybody who followed me on Twitter gave me 50 cents, I'd have like $2,500. So like the fact that y'all have done this so quickly within like 4 days is insane. Thank you to every single person. I can't shout out everybody because there have been that many people who've contributed. So thank y'all. Hopefully this ends up working out and we can go to Vegas. If not, remember I am going to be donating it to the Trevor Project, and you can find out about that somewhere else. I won't plug it here, but
Plug it. I'm allowing it.
yeah. So basically, the Trevor Project is a foundation that provides suicide prevention services to LGBTQ youth, and they classify that as 25 and under. It's something that I'm really passionate about. My parents are gay. One of my brothers are gay. One of my best friend, Andrew, is gay. So, they go through things that a lot of people who are like me, who's like a straight white man, don't, they go through things that I do not go through, that I don't have to deal with. And I've seen it, with friends, with family. And so it's something that it matters to me a lot. And so if I don't end up going, I'm going to donate the entire, whatever. Right now it would be almost $1,300. That would be going to the Trevor Project. And whatever money I don't use in Las Vegas, and I'm going to try to be frugal while I'm there, that's going to the Trevor Project. So I appreciate everybody. I really do. Thank y'all.
Sir, you better put down at least $1 on Spurs win the championship. You have to.
Yeah.
$1.
That's money well spent.
But if you do go to Vegas, we're sending you with a camera. I'm gonna make you send me footage. I will post it.
Dope.
Oh,
yeah.
To Ty's point, Kawhi just got star treatment getting that first team.
But it's Nick, you said something about like people voting at least on the All-Star votes going against the grain, just to go against the grain. You see this a lot, at least on Spurs Twitter, just people that purposely go against the grain just to do it. And I'm not going to name specifics. If you follow any three of us on Spurs Twitter, you are probably aware of who these people are. But it's some people that just go against the grain just to do it. It's not even a smart take.
Yeah, no, I agree. Crap,
You had something?
I had something. We were talking.
We can
about...
stall for you.
Noah, how are you doing?
Go ahead.
How are you doing over there?
I'm good. I had a Coke when I got here. I don't drink a lot of soda anymore, so that was amazing. I feel like awake right now. Coke, it's not sponsored by Coke. Maybe one day we'll be sponsored by Coke.
I was drinking a Sprite clearly on camera.
So shout out to Coke. Hopefully you sponsor us at some point. That would be super cool. And hopefully Nick thinks of what he was thinking about.
Sprite Coke.
I feel like it was good too. It was something about what were we just talking about? Right before you said that people are going against the grain.
We were talking about voting.
But right before that.
All team voting, and then we talked about Vegas.
Vegas. I don't know. I'll have to think of it. I feel like sorry, no, it's right in front of me. Is Luka playing in the Olympics? So for Croatia, as of right now, he's not. But I think Noah, you even tweeted about it. He's working with some specialists right now, some camps for NBA players in the offseason, and he is eligible to play. No, Ty was talking about how since he's eligible, he may just jump in for Croatia at some point.
Maybe. Kind
of like Saric, right, is eligible, but he may or may not play.
Yeah, it's so we were talking about this before we went live, and we saw like the few games with on some sketchy ass sites trying to watch
Yeah.
Luka, but it was weird where like they were just not playing him properly. They gave him almost like a 10th option out there, and so he left. He went to LA, and now he's with a point guard.
The guard whisperer.
Yeah, his name is Olin Simplis. He's worked with guys like Chris Paul, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Darius Baisley. We saw him out there with Roy Hachimura the other day. So he works out with like a lot of prominent guards and like bigs that are trying to develop guard skills. So that's a really great guy to work with because he's super trusted around NBA circles. Somebody who works with legitimate stars and like rising stars. So if you're keeping up, you should follow it because you'll actually get to see some like workout videos and some of the drills that they do if you follow Olin Simplis on Twitter or Instagram if you want to see what Luka's up to.
And I think that's perfect for Luka because probably one of the biggest knacks I have for him is his handles are pretty damn loose. And you see him getting that ball stripped a lot when he's driving and stuff like that. So that's where like majority of his turnovers came from. If he's able to time those handles to guard-like handles and really improve his ball security, he's going to be dangerous on those drives.
Yeah, I think that he is primed to have, or he's primed to be a player that would not only like any big would benefit from having guard skills, but he is someone who legitimately has a good base to learn them. His handles are loose, but he can still handle a lot better than a lot of bigs in the league. He has pretty decent passing. His court vision isn't bad. He has like a really good spin move under the bucket.
I love his spin move.
Yeah, so if his handles tighten up a little bit, it'd be better. This isn't a player comp at all. This isn't me saying that he's even a fraction as good, but he kind of reminds me of like Jokic in the sense that he has like guard skills for someone at 6'11" that he shouldn't really have, and they're extremely raw, but like they're present in a way that for someone like Jakob, for someone like, Miles Turner, like bigs who may not play center, may play center, it doesn't matter. Like bigs, like he has shown a flash or two where some bigs who start in the league have never shown a single flash of it. So if he can find someone to like harness those skills for him, kind of unlock them for him, it'll be really good for his development. And hopefully someone can help him with his shooting confidence because he has the stroke, he has the form. He's never had a full off season with Chip really, so like
this is his first full off season too.
Yeah, and I think like when I'm looking at him, I know you said Jokic, and you said it's not a 1-for-1, so I'm not saying anything about that.
I like what KOC does in terms of shades of.
I think the shades of thing is great.
I just meant more like a big person who can handle, like who has shown a flash for handling, a flash for passing. I just meant it as more of like, because I can't really think of any other bigs.
I can give you one that I think is really good, and I think maybe it might be a little bit underwhelming for people, but Dario Saric.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, I mean, Dario Saric can shoot. He can pass pretty damn well. He's a decent rebounder. Like I think Luka was a really good rebounder in the G League, but also that's worse competition, and that kind of fell a little bit once he was in the NBA. But he's a guy who can be league average efficiency from the floor, but shoot the three well. But I think Saric, where he sets himself apart from Saric, is his ability to guard, smaller players on the perimeter. So I think if that's like sort of shades of him and maybe like, I can't think of anyone off the top of my head, but someone who's like a more perimeter oriented big in terms of defense, that's a good place to start. And that's like a countryman. So that's probably somebody he knows pretty well. But I like that for him. And I'm still there with him, but I think you're right about the shooting. I'm still not sold on it. I think there's some things that got to change. I don't know what that thing he is that he does where he's staring at the ball as he's releasing it. Never seen it before.
And it doesn't happen every time.
It's not an every time thing either.
It's
that's
like,
something
but it's like 60% of the time, 40%. And it's almost like every single miss, he's looking up, and almost every single make, he's looking at the basket. And I wonder if he's trying to change that. I feel like if Chip probably saw the tape.
Skip Bayless is on the coaching staff.
I'm hoping Chip saw it because like it was glaring, and we were watching, and we saw like pictures of him, and he was like, "Is he looking at the ball?"
Yeah, it's weird. It's super
and
weird.
And it's something that if he can change that, like his shooting is going to go up. Like probably
I hope it does, because right now it's a little flat. The ball is a little flat, like the trajectory of the ball is a little flat. But I'm also worried just a little bit because you go back all the way to like when he first started playing professional basketball, so about 5 years ago. And from then to the G League to the NBA, you combine all the 3-point numbers and all the attempts. It's over 500 attempts, and it's only at 31%. That's pretty bad.
Yeah,
and that's a large sample size. And I'm not saying he can't get there. I think if anyone can get him there, it's Chip. But that's definitely, if I'm him, that's the first thing I'm working on. Because if you can force people to respect you from the 3-point line, like you can get them to buy into your pump fakes, you can open up like hard closeouts so that you can blow by guys.
Yeah, because he has that ability to like get to the rim pretty
well.
And
he's a good passer. He's better than I think people give him credit for. Like if he can unlock that, he can get to the rim, kick it out. Like I think he could be more dangerous.
Yeah, and I think he has like one of the the possible upside that he can have is probably one of the biggest, just in terms of possibilities
for younger guys. Yeah. I think the one thing that's alleviated a little, like the shooting is still, it doesn't worry me, but it's like sticks out. That biggest thing, it just comes back to him suddenly developing into like a good defender, not even just like an okay, like he can legitimately put people on an island. And like not bad players either.
Like a Julius Randle.
He can, and he can defend very well the 2 through 4. He can defend the 1. He can't defend the 5. But for the most part, I mean, he could maybe defend a smaller 5, like in a small ball lineup. But he has the speed. His footwork is underrated. But he has the speed to defend the 1 through 4, and we saw that. He gets lost in rotations. He's young. You know, I'm hoping, like, I'm just kind of assuming that goes away. But man, he is kind of like a glue guy. He sticks to people in a way that I thought he wouldn't be able to. And I notice it's because someone taught him. I don't know who did. I think it may have been DeJounte. Someone taught him that if you angle your body a certain way, you can lean into them like this and still back up. Like you shuffle your feet to the side, but you're still leaning and having a hand on them. It's almost kind of like what Patrick Beverley does without the fouling. And yeah, it's great for me as a fan of him to see him become a good defender, because I think he was projected as being a bad defender or like a below average defender, which at least at this rate isn't true. I think we got a large enough sample size and consistent sample size to show that he can at least defend at least a league average level. Cause I think like you need pretty large sample sizes to see someone's scoring potential, someone's, whatever. But I think defense, you can pretty much tell if someone's a decent defender after like 5 or 6 games, just like by their instincts, the way they move off ball, the way they can lock people down. And he didn't lock everyone down every game, but he did enough to where you can look at him and be like, you know what? Those are good instincts. He's doing stuff right. He has the fundamentals. Defense and the IQ that comes with it are things that aren't really taught. They come naturally, and they don't really go away. That's why you saw Tim Duncan still making the all-defensive teams later in his career. It's just like defense doesn't really rely on athleticism. You can sit there and like, I'm slower, but I may not be able to drive anymore, but I can sure as hell stop you from driving.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is like you've got to put time in the film room, because that's how you learn people's tendencies. That's how you learn how to overcome your mistakes and correct them. And I think as long as he's willing to put that in, because I think he had some really good showings one-on-one in terms of man defense. Like you said, his like team defense had left something to be desired, but like if I'm being 100% honest, Lonnie has looked that way at a lot of times. Keldon looked that way at times. Although I think actually Keldon is pretty phenomenal.
He's underrated.
To me, he's above Lonnie and above Luka at the moment. But when I'm talking about man defense, and I know people probably will want some examples. So we said Julius Randle. He held him to 3 of 7. That's phenomenal for guarding an all-star. He also held Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to 1 of 3. He held Bojan Bogdanovic to 1 of 3. He also held Dwight Howard, who's a center. So, I mean, I still don't really think he's going to guard many 5s, but he did hold him to 1 of 3 as well. So there's some good flashes in there. And then there's also some bad ones, like RJ Hampton got him 3 of 3, perfect 3 of 3, only guarded him for 17 seconds and scored 6 points on him. But I think the flashes mostly show you that like he's capable. And as long as he's willing to put that work in and be in the film room and work on his footwork and really just buy into the concept of like, it's not just who you're guarding, but the whole team defense concept, like I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. People like Keldon, is such an underrated defender, especially a team defender. He is incredibly underrated. And he also does that thing that I said Luka does where Keldon just does this. He barely puts his hands on you, but he pushes his chest on you. He leans on you, and he makes you feel his presence because he's so strong. He's not necessarily heavy, but like he reminds me of like a pit bull. Like they're not big, but you know they're sure as shit strong, and he's letting you know that. He's imposing his will on you, and he's leaning on you. He's not letting you up. It's kind of like a glue guy. He's just sticking to you. He'll follow you all the way to the basket. Now under the basket, he doesn't really have much in the way of rim protection.
Just because
it seems like the ball like kind of go over him a little bit.
His arms are actually like shorter than his height, so that's like kind of a weird attribute that's not usually normal for.
Same with Luka.
Oh yeah, I thought we were talking about Luka.
Oh no, I was talking about Keldon.
Oh, Keldon's arms are actually longer than his height, but for Luka, his wingspan is like about a half inch to an inch shorter than his actual height.
Yeah, I was saying like Keldon, he's great. He's not as good of a defender under the basket, but that can be that's just more of like his instincts. He seems to try and avoid biting on what he thinks would be a fake, so he doesn't always go up when he should, but sometimes he'll just send that shit in the rafters. Like that, I think he just needs to work a bit more on that. But no, Keldon is a vastly underrated defender, and I feel like the more you know about basketball, the more you'd agree that he's a good defender.
I would be curious because I think that his real position is the 3, just because. If he's able to match up against 3s more often than 4s, he's going to win those matchups easily with his body size, the way that he just barrels through people, and I think at some point he's just going to outmatch people in terms of physicality, especially at the 3. If he's able to go up against Anthony Davis at the 4, being undersized as he is, that's impressive.
Oh yeah, I agree. Keldon's just a victim of circumstance that we didn't really have a great 4. Like he was our best 4 this season, and like no matter what certain people say about Rudy's plus minus or defensive rating, like Keldon was probably our best 4, and that's not a problem you want to have. A 6 foot, 6.5, 6'7" small forward being your best power forward.
Yeah. And I think like next season he guards 3s and 4s. Preferably those are the players who you want him guarding.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Zion's a freak of nature. I don't even think you can label him as a position, but he was really good against Zion in the first game. Zion had his number in the second game. He was really good against LeBron in the first game. LeBron had his number in the second game. But guys who I was really impressed with what he did against them over the course of the season in multiple matchups, he held Jaylen Brown to 4 of 16 in 13 minutes as the man-to-man defender. He also held Julius Randle to 4 of 12 in 11 minutes. And like some of the guys who he did struggle with were the guys who are bigger, like Kristaps Porzingis, 9 of 11. Like he really took advantage of it. But he also did a really good job on Kelly Oubre, on Russell Westbrook. He did a fair job against Giannis, held him to 4 of 8, which I think is better than you might expect. So I like him, but I think like with Keldon, he's probably not as like versatile in terms of like positional defense, but team defense, I think there's really not a lot that he's struggling with. Like I think he's really getting it, and next year I'm really excited to see what he does because I'm just not sure what he is yet. Like I don't know, because I shared a video today about Kevin Durant talking about Keldon Johnson. He can get buckets, blah 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 blah. But again, I think we got to remember like he was doing that against high school competition, guys who were like a little smaller than him at the time. And I want to see if he can maybe translate that to the NBA because he's getting bigger. He's, I think, more athletic than people gave him credit for, like coming out of college. And maybe like with the freedom, he has a sort of breakout. But then again, maybe he is just like sort of low key what he is, and he can get a little bit better at certain things and really find his niche, so to speak. So I don't know. I'm excited for Keldon, but I'm excited for everyone.
20 rebound game from him because that was electric.
2020, man.
Doing that against Jarrett Allen too.
Yeah, he sunned Jarrett Allen. Like I don't even know. I think Keldon is so weird, right? Because he has the tendencies of like a 6'10", extremely built like power forward or center. He's just like, I don't know. He
plays like a poor man's Charles Barkley.
Yeah, exactly.
And
or an absolutely massive Russell Westbrook.
And
right?
I'm really excited to see what he can do from behind the arc this upcoming season.
He needs to fix that rainbow shot, but it's kind of working for him. I get his shooting isn't good, but like it's really cool to see that shot like leave the screen and come back and just like splash. You're like, oh my gosh.
But it's with him and DeJounte in terms of development. I think the most that those two at least probably are going to be focusing on is that deep shot. But if you can get DeJounte hitting it at the clip that he was at a really high at a good percentage, like he was attempting 3 a game at 31%. If you can raise that to like 35, that's going to be fine. I think that will help the team, and even as little as that sounds, if Keldon can shoot if he can shoot around 3 to 4 3-pointers at a decent clip. He was already doing 2.5 at 33. If you can just turn up that volume a little bit and just get that percentage to an average rate, you're going to be helping your team dramatically.
Yeah, and I think that will be really huge for the Spurs to get more 3-point shooting. Mm-hmm. But I think for them, at least right now, the only thing they're going to be able to contribute is standstill shooting, like catch and shoot. Because DeJounte has looked awful off the bounce from 3. Like, it's literally sub 25%. It's not good.
Yeah.
For Keldon, he hardly took any, so it's not even worth mentioning his percentage because there just was hardly any attempts off movement. So, like, they're not guys who are going to be running off of screens. They're not guys who are going to be, shooting off the dribble. They're not even really guys who relocate all that well to get a 3-point shot. So I think just them focusing on standstill shooting is going to be important. And the Spurs got to find a way to add that somewhere else. The guys who have that sort of shot versatility. Yeah, I mean, you could get it out of Corey Kispert, but
I'm fucking kidding. Don't do it.
But it's like as long as you can get them as reliable catch and shoot type of guys from beyond the arc, that's going to be, especially if you.
I'd be happy.
Especially when you do have guys like Derek, DeJounte, and Lonnie who can be drive guys that will kick it out. If you kick it out to Keldon in the corner and have him be a reliable 3-point shooter, that's going to be big.
Yeah.
But luckily, you still do have guys that could come off the dribble, that can come off screens, and Derek and Lonnie. And I think Derek's going to be a much better 3-point shooting once he stays healthy, of course. And I think Lonnie will give you some consistent numbers with consistent roles and minutes.
I think
it goes back to the message of you just got to let these guys play.
Yeah, I think Lonnie has incredible upside as a 3-point shooter. Like.
Yeah, he actually is somebody who can run off of screens. He's shown some ability off the dribble. He's also like just a hair above 40% as a catch and shoot standstill shooter. So out of all those guys, that's the one who they need to step it up the most.
Yeah, I'm incredibly excited to see what another offseason with Chip and I hope to God he's starting next year in place of DeMar. I hope DeMar's not coming back.
Oh, and also I forgot about imagine Devin Vassell at a higher clip.
Oh, yeah, because Devin had himself some games from 3. And, of course, he's one of those catch and shoot, standstill shooters, right?
He moves a little bit. Like, I will say he's not really a big movement shooter, but he does relocate pretty well where he finds, he sees his defender slipping, he moves to a corner, or he recognizes the defense is, more focused on a breakdown, and he will relocate to, wherever he can be most open. So he's going to be huge, too, next year because he started off really well, so did Lonnie, and then they kind of tapered off. And I think that's also, a little bit of a product of just tired legs and not getting a chance to practice. Like last year, I mean, first off, the Spurs don't really practice that much, but last year especially, they just didn't.
We didn't get to.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have the chance. And I just want to bring this up really quick because I thought it was really, really strange. The Spurs were when you think of the corner 3 and who really popularized it, you think of the San Antonio Spurs, right? Mm-hmm. You think of Bruce Bowen. You think of even the shot from Avery Johnson from the corner for the 99 championship.
Dana Green was always a big corner 3 shooter.
Exactly. This year they were second to last.
Yeah.
They shot 436 corner threes this year, second to last in the NBA. Number 1 was the Jazz, 856, almost 400 more. So I don't know how they're going to do it, but they've got to find a way to utilize that corner 3. Not only is it the shortest, but by de facto, it's the easiest. So I don't know how they reincorporate that into their offense, but to me, if you're not shooting a bunch of threes in the first place, you might as well try to get the most efficient one in the game in the corner.
Yeah, at the risk of offending people, I don't want to say the name, but getting more of those threes, especially corner ones, it's going to be addition by subtraction, 1 or 2 players that hopefully don't come back. But one thing that I think is going to be huge for Devin and incredibly underrated is that every single time we shot almost, everyone collapsed and went for transition defense because we couldn't defend in transition. We gave up. I think we left a ton of offensive rebounds just on the board up for grabs because we always had to go back. I could be wrong, But I feel like that Devin is such a strong passing lane defender. I think he's incredibly strong in transition. DeJounte's a great transition defender, it seems, but he's so small he can't defend some of those bigger guys like at the 3-4, or basically the 3 and 4. And I think Devin could pick up that slack with more minutes, and it might give Jakob more chances to not have to immediately run back when a shot is missed or a shot is taken, and it'll let him sit under and fight for those offensive rebounds.
Also, I think Devin's probably hitting a growth spurt just from looking at photos.
He looks tall.
He looks taller, and I saw like KBD is like 6'7" or something, like 6'8", and Devin was like standing nearly at his height.
I don't think his height was accurate. I mean, like, I'm sure that they used whatever technology or whatever, but at Florida State he was listed at 6'7", and then somehow he came to the NBA and he was 6'5", but like he looked 6'7" the whole time to me. It was very strange.
Yeah, these guys come into the NBA and they're getting measured. Like every now and then, they're just like now you can tell it's wrong.
And that it's a reminder that the listed heights from the NBA are in socks. They're not in shoes, which can give you an inch sometimes. But also another reminder that the listed heights that we know of are from the beginning of the season.
Yeah, and these guys are 18, 19. They're growing. I grew when I was 18, 19. I graduated from high school. I was like 6'1.5", and now I'm close to 6'3".
I wish I had that problem. I'm 5'6", and
I'm middle of the pack.
I hit my growth spurt at about 7th, 8th grade.
Yeah.
So I was like about as tall as most of the other boys. And then I got to high school. I was like, all right, here we go. We're going to be like 5'10". And then I was like, all right, we're going to grow. And then I was like, oh, I guess I'm just like 5'6" forever.
Yeah.
I wish I kind of had like a late growth spurt in high school. Like I think I was like maybe 5'7", but I eventually, sorry, man. I'm sorry. I'm now like 5'10", 5'11", and I've been like this for a good 5 years now. So
yeah. Yeah, I mean, being tall is cool, but I can't dunk really, so it's a waste. So like, I'm just tall to get bad joints, and that's it.
You got that Jakob vertical.
Yeah, dude, I have the Jakob vertical. I mean, at least I can grab onto the rim. I don't know if I can say the same for Jakob. No, I'm kidding.
Wow,
I'm kidding.
That's rude.
God, bro.
One of my favorite highlights though of him is whenever he was, I want to say it was his second season in Toronto. Man, like did a pump fake from the 3-point line, drove and just postered someone with one hand.
Yeah.
I would really hope to see Jakob do a lot more drives like that, because he does like that. It's like the fake handoff near the top of the key and anything like that. Does a spin move and just drives to the rim. And sometimes he has an open lane and he can finish. And I think everyone underappreciates his craftiness in terms of finishing with layups. Like, I know you want to see him dunk. He's 7'1". But man, he can be really crafty with those layups at times, though.
I agree with you. You know what's crazy? We'll play just a short game, just a really short game.
I love games.
Let's play guess Jakob's vertical. Just guess it off the top of your head. What do you think?
32.
32. What's yours?
I'll go 36.
All right, Ty's the closest. It was measured at 37 inches coming out of Utah, and one of the things that I think people kind of forget is like your vertical isn't necessarily how high you're jumping every time. That's literally with like a clear lane. They're jumping as high as they can, no one in the way. And Jakob's not really a guy who explodes in a crowd, so he's not going to dunk over people like that. And he's also a guy who needs a runway to get going. So like unless it's a clear runway, he's probably not going to get going. And he's mostly like, when you look at him jumping, like that's with his vertical being higher than probably some people think, like that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be like jumping for like lobs.
Is that his standing vertical or his running vertical?
That's his running vertical.
What's his do you have a standing vertical by any chance?
I could look it up.
Because his standing vertical is not the greatest.
Yeah, his standing vertical probably is not very good.
That's what I was guessing. And 32 for a standing.
And that's why you just don't really see him finish, because he just doesn't have that vertical.
Does
He's
Bobby
a slow
Portis
loader too.
Does Bobby Portis remind anyone of like an actor playing Chris Bosh?
A little bit.
Like I'm looking at him. We have the game up on the screen over here, and I'm like, that looks like an actor playing Chris Bosh. He reminds me of I forgot from X-Men First Class. There's an actor that he died at the beginning. You know who I'm talking about?
Darwin, the guy that played
Darwin. Yeah, he looks a lot like that guy's actor. But no, it looks like
with the goatee.
Yeah, it looks like Darwin from X-Men First Class playing Chris Bosh on the Bucks, and I was like,
All right, underrated TV show in terms of cameos by NBA players. Parks and Rec.
They had a few.
Man, they had
I don't remember.
They had
I watched
Roy,
it and I don't
They had
remember.
Def Leppard Shrimp for a whole episode. Roy Hibbert, and then they had Chris Bosh playing as a player that was, I want to say, for what was the neighboring town, as a transfer player.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he dunked on some kid and said, "Yeah, I'm better at saxophone too, David."
I was hoping you were gonna say Dave.
Oh, he's so close.
Josh Giddey looks like an actor too from High School Musical.
He
That
really
is
does.
hilarious,
He looks
dude.
like Troy Bolton.
That's
He really
hilarious.
does. Yeah.
At least we know he has a crazy work ethic.
Yeah, he's someone who I'm excited about. And not to plug something randomly here, but we're going to be talking about him tomorrow on my podcast that we're going to be filming live.
Y'all need to listen to his
recording live.
podcast.
So
Like,
y'all should, and like if y'all have time or if anybody has time in this chat tomorrow, we're doing it live, 5 p.m. Green Room, Spotify Green Room app. Super easy. Just make an account. You don't have to talk, but we
It's
are
free.
going to do a 15-minute like sort of Q&A or hot take session with Spurs fans. Last week we had 16 people in the room, but we only had 2 people who wanted to ask questions or wanted to give their hot takes. So
weak.
don't be scared if you're up there. No one's going to roast you. And yeah, so come join that. And also thank y'all for hanging out with us. Like people have been in here the whole time.
Yeah.
Gregory.
Yeah, we
Yaks-
usually retain at least like 7 or 8 viewers, and people talk a lot. It's really nice to have, actually.
Gregory, Yak's going to windmill just because of the slander.
Yeah. I hope the Spurs draft a big or sign a big. Yak needs to come off the bench. That's actually true. I do think that, I mean, being a lob threat isn't everything, but I think Yak is more suited to being a really good bench big. That's kind of why I'm out here hoping that we draft Kai Jones, and that's why I'm not gonna like backflip off a bridge if we sign like Sengun or something like that, Shingun, however you say it, because he's a rough big with good offensive upside, not good defensive upside, but like he's young. He seems to play well in his circuit, or like well enough, and like that's what he's just a big with upside.
I'm out on him, but I think everybody kind of knows that. I'm not out on him completely, but like at 12, I think it's like a huge reach because like he has the potential to end up just being like an Enes Kanter. Mm-hmm. And that's really scary. And in a league where
12,
you don't want to be that, again, I know I say it every time somebody hears me on any podcast or stream or whatever, but people keep saying he can shoot. He cannot. It's all theoretical. He's got an 82% free throw percentage, so that's an indicator that someone has shooting potential. That doesn't mean he's going to fulfill it. He is 18, so there's time for it, but he's not the best athlete. He's not the best, not vertical, but side to side. Like his lateral movement isn't great. And the one thing I can say is I do think he has a lot of offensive upside. He's a good passer.
Yeah.
He does have that shooting potential.
Underrated
He's hard-nosed. Yeah, he's got great footwork.
Amazing
He's somebody
footwork.
who has moves, counter moves in the post. He's like really a true like throwback big in that sense. And
also
he also
scary.
was MVP of his league. And that league is, in my opinion, second best league in the world outside of the NBA. He plays against grown men. He dominated grown men. The last time we saw someone do that was Luka, but before Luka, it was probably Yusuf Nurkic. And if that's what he becomes, that's
amazing.
great. That's great.
Yeah.
So you'd be happy with that. So like, I still think you probably could do better than that at 12.
Yeah.
But
That's why I said like
That's
I'm
why I
not gonna
wouldn't like it.
I'm not gonna like
You're not going to cry.
my heart won't break if we draft him, because I see things I like, and then like my eyes like need to be like I sprayed Germ-X in my eyes watching some of his defensive tape and like some of his weird rotations and poor decisions. But the things that kind of keep me not on his train, but like I see, you know, the train tickets like, oh, they're 80% off to travel on like a Thursday. So maybe I'll buy a ticket 80% off just to have in my back pocket just in case. Are things that are hard to teach, especially for his size, like the passing, the court vision, the footwork. I love the footwork. And the fact that he wasn't doing it against like some, you know, D1 bench players that went to like Duke or whatever. He's doing it against grown men. So the fact that he's doing it in that league, like, puts me at kind of like a place where I'm like, if we draft him, they must have a plan for him. But I would rather draft Giddey, Keon, Kai Jones.
like there's other guys that you'd on your draft
I don't know
board.
if I'd rather draft him than Wagner, because I think Wagner has a lower ceiling, and he's better than like a lot of people, but he kind of reminds me somewhat of a Kispert player in that, like, he has a high floor, low ceiling with not a whole lot of upside, but he'd fit better on a team that needs like supporting pieces around a star.
Yeah, I think, well, at least my takeaway with Franz Wagner is that he's someone sort of like Devin Vassell or Mikal Bridges, who maybe they're not ever going to be high usage, but there's the guy who's sort of a glue guy that holds a roster together once it's already got like the other pieces in place. And I think he would be a fine pick. I like him, but he may be hard pressed to find minutes.
Yeah.
Just because they're already so wing heavy. And I know that the NBA is like really wing heavy at the moment, but I would be a little worried that he wouldn't find minutes because, like, to me, if you add him, who is he taking minutes away from? Even if DeMar's gone, like,
no one really.
I don't know. Maybe even Luka. Maybe he can play a little bit 3-4. I don't know. But I like him. But we'll just have to see who they pick. I said this on my podcast. Like, it's going to be hard for them to go wrong.
Yeah,
it's going to be really hard for them to go wrong.
There's only two picks they can go wrong with, in my opinion. And I also don't know much about the second guy, just from what I've seen and heard. I think it was on your podcast, Devion.
Oh, Davion Mitchell? Oh, yeah, no. For me, he's like, and I don't have like an official big board out yet. I will do one later, like closer to the draft. But for me, he's sort of off the top of my head, sort of in that 20-ish range. Not only is he the oldest player in this draft, he's also one of the smallest. And I think he's an incredible defender in the same way that like Trey Jones is, where he's going to be scrappy and get in like your grill and really make you uncomfortable. But there's not a lot of positional versatility.
And we also drafted Trey Jones in like the 40s. So it's like...
And he has some potential off the bounce. Don't get me wrong. Like, I like him. I think he's going to be a good player for a long time. But like, I think in the lottery, he doesn't.
Yeah. Who is the most overrated player to you? And like that's kind of
in the draft,
ranging the lottery at the moment, or at least let's just say first round.
We saw Wasserman say that Josh Primo is sneaking in the lottery conversation. I would say Josh Primo because I think he's good. I think he should probably go back to Alabama. He's the youngest guy in the draft. He's only like 18 and like 5 months old. Like, he's really, really young.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily think he has the same upside as someone like Alexei Pokusevsky, who went like in the 20s last year and I thought should have gone in the lottery. So maybe him. God, I mean, there's a few guys who I think are sort of red flags. I'm going on Tankathon just to look at the sort of like their big board and look at their prospects. I think Jonathan Kuminga is low-key got a few red flags. I would buy into, like, if you have him,
his shooting,
that's
right?
good.
That's
like,
a
well,
big deal.
Really at this point, like his shooting wasn't very good. His decision making wasn't great. He was a little late to make decisions at times, even if it was like the right decision. He made it like a little bit too late. Everything is sort of like in theory with him. There's nothing that's like outside of his like incredible athleticism and his willingness to score and his aggressiveness. I'm like not 100% sold on him. I think if he's there, obviously at 12 you would take Kuminga, but I wouldn't take him there.
Do you see who's Tankathon? Tankathon has New Orleans taking Davion Mitchell at 10.
Yeah, I kind of disagree with that.
Moses Moody at 12.
Tankathon's like mock drafts are a little weird to me. I feel like they're just more of landing places than anything.
Yeah. Now, I could see Charlotte taking Şengün at 11.
Yeah, I would be fine with that.
But I see the Warriors taking Kai Jones at 14. I feel like we draft Kai Jones if he's available at 12. And I see Josh Giddey at 15. Garuba going at 17. I don't see that, man.
I mean, it could. I think with Garuba, a lot of people might be scared because really the only player comp that people have thrown out there is like Draymond Green. And if your only player comp is a Hall of Famer and a one that is like kind of volatile at that, like you may have a hard time convincing front offices to buy into his ability to become something like Draymond, because Draymond's really unique as a player. Even if you don't like him, he's really unique. I like Usman Garuba. I think he would be fine. He produced in one of the best leagues in the world for Real Madrid, so I like him. But
what about Greg Brown at 27 to the Nets? That doesn't make sense to me.
I would take Greg Brown, and also if Greg Brown ever listens to this,
and I love
awesome.
Greg Brown,
and
dude.
I watched him play in high school. I filmed him in high school. I talked to him. I was right there in front of him. Great dude. I wouldn't touch Greg Brown until maybe the early second round because everything is literally like it's not there yet. It's just not there yet. Like if I had to give the one glaring weakness of Greg Brown's game is not only is that he can't really shoot, his offensive rating was low, his turnovers were super high. assist to turnover ratio. Get this. Let me go ahead and pull up his stats from this year. An assist to turnover ratio isn't everything, right? I mean, like sometimes you can commit live ball turnovers where you're not trying to pass, someone just like rips you or something.
Yeah.
He had 10 assists all season in 26 games, and he committed 60 turnovers. So basically 3 turnovers a game to less than an assist every 2 games.
That's
the
wild.
decision making was really bad. The defense is sort of like Kai Jones at this point, where like you know that they could probably be a really good defender, but they're not really there yet. They don't get it. So huge red flags for Greg Brown. I'm not sold.
Well, also it doesn't make sense because like I think there's a bit of redundancy there, especially with the Nets when like they don't even have Claxton playing minutes. It's weird.
Oh man, yeah,
Which
I don't
is
get
a
that.
waste.
I love Claxton.
Because Claxton, like I wish we had gotten him in the second round, dude.
Right before Kendary, not literally the pick, but like earlier in the round. Yeah, if he had fallen a little more, I would have been so happy.
Yeah.
I gotta ask Isaiah Jackson. I've seen him. I feel like he's been kind of more fluid in terms of where he's landing in drafts and at least in mock drafts.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you see him going 12 to Spurs. Sometimes like at least in the Tankathon one, he drops like 20 to the late 20s. Like why is his placement like so damn fluid?
I think it's because Kentucky was bad last year, and so he was like pretty good for a Kentucky team that was bad, and so it's a little hard to get a reading on that. But I think he's also somebody who like 2.6 blocks per game in just 20 minutes per game is insane. That's like almost 4 blocks per like 36 minutes, and he was a tremendous athlete. Like he's one of the best vertical athletes at his position in the draft. But I think some of the concerns is like he's 6'10", right? So he's a little undersized to be a center. He's right about that forward height, but he doesn't really have any forward skills. He can't shoot. He's mostly a lob threat. The other things are still like he's figuring it out. And then he's super skinny. He's only 206 pounds.
Wow,
like he's
really?
really skinny.
That's crazy.
And so you're pretty much buying into upside with him.
Yeah.
And upside that like even if he reaches it, he may never have a true position. He may never really like fledge out everything. So I think like for him, someone who he reminds me of is like a Nerlens Noel. And that's not a bad player, but I don't think you would want to take him in the lottery.
Yeah, I'm looking at their late lottery. I mean, I don't know much about Luka Garza. How do you feel about him at 58?
So that's also a question for me.
At
though. It's
58?
Like, how does like the best player at least in the collegiate level drop to you like a late second rounder?
I think it's the same reason where like you have a guy who wins the Heisman who's just like doesn't go in the first round and goes way late because you can dominate a college game because the college game is so much different from the NBA.
Yeah.
But like once you get to the NBA, you've got where he's like Luka, like I will admit he dropped a ton of weight. And before he got injured at the combine, which is super unfortunate, he looked a little more fluid laterally. He looked a little faster when he was going straight line. I think he improved his vertical a few inches. But still, it wasn't that impressive. Like he doesn't move very well side to side. He's going to get exposed. If he is going to play as a big in the pick and roll, he's going to be used in exclusively drop coverage. He's going to be someone who can be taken advantage of there. It's not really a rim protector. Like I don't think that's going to be something he can do. He can shoot threes, but he's just standstill. And like with his back to the basket, I think he's valuable, but how often do teams really throw that? So he's also like a little older too. Like I want to say he's 21 or 22.
He is 22 and a half.
So yeah, he's a little older. So
do you think he has enough upside to take it like 41 for us?
No, I wouldn't take him at 40.
So?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't take him at 41. But if he was like there at 58 or something, you get another second round pick. Like I think he could be a backup big in the league easily. Like maybe he could even become a starting level big. I don't know. I have a lot of questions with Luka Garza. So one of them is, the standstill shooting was good, 3.2 attempts, and this 44%. That's phenomenal. But the free throw shooting was also pretty good. He got to the line a lot. He was a pretty good rebounder. Not really a great passer. Didn't really protect the rim. Like 1.6 blocks per game, but I wouldn't classify him as a rim protector. Yeah. But the thing that stands out to me is like for someone who's so dominant, so to speak, at 6'11" and now probably 245 since he lost about 20 pounds. Mm-hmm. He only finishes 58% from 2-point range, and most of that was at the rim. So I'm just like a little concerned that he's going to struggle against better athletes, longer players, better competition. Because like he did play in the Big Ten, which is great competition, but the NBA is the best league in the world. And to me, he's improved his stock like every year. But the fact that he's only able to garner second round interest says something about him.
I agree. What about they have us taking Jeremiah Robinson Earl?
Oh, that would be fantastic.
Is it?
Oh my God, that would be so good. Like if he doesn't go in the first round, teams are making a mistake. My buddy Mav's draft is super high on him. He's got me to buy on him quite a bit. He can shoot a little bit. He's a good team defender. He's got some decent athletic tools. He can handle the ball a little bit. He's pretty much like your consummate pro coming out of a team that produces a ton of really good pro players. Like you've got Josh Hart, you've got Jalen Brunson. Off the top of my head, those are the only guys I can think
Like
of.
elite
But
role players.
out of Villanova, and I think he would be like a home run.
Yeah, they
at
have
that pick.
Weiskamp going 56. That seems low.
It's a little low, but
That
I mean,
happens in the second
he's,
round, I guess.
think mostly been labeled as a shooter,
Yeah.
and he's like a serviceable defender. I think someone with length and that athleticism can probably be groomed to be a little bit better, but he's also a little bit older, so I don't blame him. But I would be also really happy with Wieskamp at 41. There's a lot of guys in the second round who you could be happy with. Personally, I think...
Would you take Greg Brown at 41?
No, I would. Honestly, I just think he's such a project that if you're taking... Like, say if you did take Kai Jones and then you also took Greg Brown, like, I think it'd just be really strange because you'd be working with two guys who are both projects, and then one guy's just so much of a project that I think he would really spend like years in the G League. I really do think he would spend years in the G League. Someone who I would be more willing to go after someone like Isaiah Todd, who played for the G League Ignite. He had some interesting skill set. Decision making is also not his strong suit, but he was a better shooter. He also is somewhat like in between positions, 4-5, but I think he's pretty young. He showed some good flashes for the G League Ignite when I saw him play at the G League this year. So I like him. And Brandon Boston is good too.
An FYI to people though, because there's a lot of people that they've been seeing a lot of the reports, and Spurs are looking at a lot of guards, shooting guards in the second round. Just because they're working out doesn't mean they're going to draft them. And also, these guys are second round guys, not first round guys. Please calm down. Please stop.
Yeah. Exactly. Like Ty said, it doesn't even matter really. But I mean, it does matter, but it's not like the end of the world if you draft someone who doesn't work out. We drafted Kendary Weatherspoon, and reports are saying that he's not going to come back. And I don't think anybody's like really upset about that.
No.
Same thing with Chemezi.
Man, the one thing that I was upset about was like, I had like higher hopes for Blossom Game. I think maybe his work ethic got the best of him or something. I don't know. But I'm reading an article real quick just because I was kind of curious. Is there anything that would have caused Davion Mitchell to shoot up so high?
His performance in the NCAA tournament.
Dude, the Ringer 4 days ago have the Warriors taking him at 7.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I love Kevin O'Connor because he does all their draft stuff, and he was kind enough to sit down with me and talk. But like,
didn't he have Killian at number 1 on his big board too?
Killian, yeah, he had Killian at I think 1 or 2. I also had Killian at like 2, I think, last year.
Killian was his number 1 on his big board. I remember that. I remember I used to draft.
I really like Killian. Also, I'm really still high on him. He was injured for most of the year. He was in a terrible situation in Detroit. He went from playing for a team in like the French League or Belgian League or something, where they were playing in the Euro Cup, which is like a step below the Euro League in terms of like, like European soccer. They play in their normal league and then they play like the Champions League. It would be like if there was a step below the Champions League, that's what it would be like for him. And then you also have to remember he was barely 19, and for me, point guards, you probably shouldn't judge them until about year 3. Really, most young players, but you really shouldn't judge guys who are coming to the league at 19 until probably like year 2 or 3. And I think being next to Cade is going to be really great for his development.
Unless they trade, they've been talking about apparently shopping the first overall.
If they do that, they are making a huge mistake. But I mean,
how much would you be willing to give up for number 1 overall? Like
a real
package,
anything.
Anything.
Unless you're like trading your next 5 first round, like where it's like you're trading your first round, then pick swap, then first round pick swap, where that's like the only legal way to do that. I probably wouldn't do that, but like if they were like, we want DeJounte, we want Derek, we want Lonnie in a first, I'd say go for it. Yeah, have it.
Okay, so you cut it off at 1 first with those 3.
I mean, honestly, I'd probably even throw in like a second first 2 years down the line because he probably won't be bad enough for it to matter.
Thank you. I agree. I totally agree. I think he's one of those players that you can damn near gut your team for, like active players. I wouldn't.
You might
go
as well
because
he's so young.
Picks. Yeah.
I mean, he's so young. He's so young, and he's been so good. Like he's another guy who I got to see up close and personal playing in Dallas, and he's just phenomenal there. Everybody was super high on him going into Oklahoma State, and he absolutely balled out there. And his biggest knock on him coming into Oklahoma State was his shooting, and he was a 40% three-point shooter on decent volume this year, so I'm not worried about him at all.
What do you think what would you trade to Cleveland for 3 with the knowledge in mind that there's been like a few rumors from like decent sites that Houston may be targeting one of the Jalen's at 2.
Yeah.
Because I read it something like they fear that there may be some redundancy with Mobley and Woods.
Who
and like
cares?
Woods may like yeah, it's stupid, but they're dumb enough to do that. So if there's even a thought in your mind that Mobley could be there at 3, what are you willing to give Cleveland for 3, assuming that DeMar wouldn't want to be signed and traded there?
Well, if you're looking at it this way, and we absolutely know that Evan Mobley's going to be there, probably a similar thing, because I think in most years Mobley would be the clear number 1 pick, like far and away, but because you have Cade in here, he's the obvious number 2. So I think it would be a mistake for teams to pass him, but I would take Kevin Love back in a heartbeat, because Kevin Love, and I know people, oh, well, it's his contract. Dude, there's like 2 years left on it at this point. Who cares?
Yeah.
Like really, who cares? And you're not, if you acquire, you're not like looking to win right now. You're looking for the long term, and he's someone who can probably, in a few years with the core that they have, assuming you don't gut the entire roster, you maybe keep Lonnie and Devin and Keldon, like you could be really special in a few years.
One more question to piss off Ty. What is your Ben Simmons package? Because I know it doesn't include Derek. Unless, would you do like
I probably wouldn't
Derek
send Derek.
for Ben?
I don't think they would, so I probably won't even entertain that. But
Okay.
I would move on.
That's
from
a hard one.
DeJounte.
Yeah.
I would move on for DeJounte for him, and I probably if DeMar. Yeah, sorry, I forgot his name for a second. DeMar DeRozan wanted to, if he wanted to be signed and traded there for Ben Simmons, then
Be a
I'd
good
go for it
position.
and send him a couple of firsts. I think that's tough to part with, but I would at least entertain it, because Ben is like, and God, people keep putting like, and this is at nobody, but I've seen it more than once on Twitter where people are like, well, here are DeJounte stats and here are Ben stats.
Yeah, you can't
Well,
do
the
that.
difference between DeJounte and Ben is, I understand Ben doesn't shoot, but Ben is uber efficient because he plays to his strengths. He has superior court vision. He's a better passer. He's a better defender because he's more versatile. Not only, DeJounte can guard like 1s and 2s and on his best days guard 3s. Ben can guard 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He can. It's just it's a fact. He can guard pretty much every position. There's a reason why he finished second in Defensive Player of the Year voting. Even if voting wasn't perfect, I think they got that one right.
Rookie of the Year.
He's Rookie of the Year, 3-time All-Star, All-NBA, All-Defense. So he's far and away your best player. And this is sort of like probably shooting myself in the foot a little bit, but if you get him, I think you could potentially go chase after someone like John Collins, because then that's someone who has similar ability to set him up. But again, like that's another conversation altogether. But I think there's a cutoff for Ben Simmons, and for me, that's probably Derek White and like a few firsts or something. But I also don't think they'd be that interested in Derek.
Yeah. I think, like I was saying earlier with how high DeJounte's trade value is, I think Philly would like seriously consider DeJounte, because like he's kind of like a Ben Simmons in the sense that they need people who can guard guards at least. He can like pass maybe 60% of what Ben Simmons can pass, 50-60%, which is about all they need. He's a good defender. He has leadership qualities that Ben doesn't really even have at this point. Like DeJounte can lead a team in the locker room, on the bench. I agree. He has that it factor in the sense of like just like being a leader and a gravity player in a locker room.
Actually has a jump shot.
Yeah, the difference is, he can shoot. He seems to have a better work ethic. He's not nearly as talented almost anywhere else, but I truly think that Philly wins that series if you put DeJounte there instead of Ben with his performance.
Maybe because and like we haven't really gotten DeJounte that much, and I think it was a lot of people were ready to like throw DeMar under the bus, but like actually DeJounte had a worse offensive game than DeMar. Like he had a good defensive game, but his offensive game was so bad against Memphis, and you can't read too much into one game, but like I just don't know that he's that much that like I don't think he necessarily provides that much more value. I don't know.
I just mean specifically outside of like 5 feet for Philly in that series. Specifically, I think if you replace DeJounte with Ben in that series and you assume Ben has the exact same, like you go with Ben's numbers and you replace them with what DeJounte could have done for them, I think they win it. I don't think DeJounte is a better player. I was kind of trolling, like I did the stats for them side by side like 3 months ago, and I was like, guys, I'm not saying anything, but here you go. And I was jokingly saying that DeJounte was better, and I got a bunch of Sixers fan attacking me. And then like they were like, DeJounte's so much worse. And then one of them, I replied with DeJounte and Ben's stats as a joke, and I got him to go, like, damn, well, I didn't know he was that good. And I'm like, are you fucking stupid?
Well, I don't think anybody watches San Antonio because nobody cares. Like,
Yeah.
outside of like
Yeah.
the Spurs sort of fandom. Nobody cares.
I still think Ben is borderline generational talent. I just think it's like, it's a situation that is irrecoverable from. And I think, there have been reports since the beginning of the year that him and Joel don't mesh well. They don't really like each other that much. And it's more Embiid not liking Ben from what I understand.
I think that can still work though. Like they're not Kobe and Shaq, but like Kobe and Shaq hated each other and won multiple titles.
Yeah, but you're right. Like
They're not the
Kobe
same.
and
Yeah,
Shaq.
they're not Kobe and Shaq.
And they have they don't have Mark Phil Jackson coaching them? I was going to say Mark Jackson.
They have Doc Rivers.
Not anymore, probably.
Oh, yeah. I mean, maybe not. Who knows?
Do you think they move on from
I think
in one
they
season?
hold on to him just because it's like with Stan Van Gundy, I kind of understand you moving on from him if you're the Pelicans, even though he like sort of helped Zion reach like a new level this year, but like the roster construction was weird. He just didn't get it ever to work. And so they're like, they want to prove to Zion, like, we're trying to win with you. But like with Doc, like I know that they lost earlier than expected, but Joel Embiid also had that like meniscus tear or whatever, and he was playing on that, and Ben didn't play well, and Danny Green was injured, and I could make excuses for them all day, but like I think they still consider bringing him back because they parted with Brett Brown, who was there for years and years and years and years, and so I don't see them like moving on from one guy after 1
I hope
year.
they do, because it's going to be a waste of a year whenever they don't win the ring next year too. I also get the feeling that Ben does not like Doc, and I don't think Doc is a huge fan of Ben either. At least from what I've seen, like reports from Zach Lowe's podcast, that's kind of how they made it sound. I just don't like. I know that they're posturing for the media, but I don't see Ben playing another second for Philly. And if they do, I don't think it'll go that well for them. I just think he's in a situation that is he won't be able to recover from there. I think a change of scenery for him would be something great, kind of like Derrick Rose going back to New York, like bouncing around teams. Like he never found, and then he went back to New York, and now he's like, he showed out for a while. And I know I'm not trying to compare them as players, but just like a change of scenery can be a huge deal for someone.
Yeah, I agree. Ty, sorry, I wanted to ask you, do we have other topics that we want to cover, or do you want to wrap this up, or what do we want to do?
Let's wrap it up, because I just realized the camera died.
Yeah, sorry, I saw that
no.
on the feed. I was like, I'm assuming I didn't even realize, but we've been on here for 2.5 hours.
Wow.
Hold on, let me turn all the cameras back on real quick.
But for people who are still listening here, those are our thoughts on Ben Simmons and some of the draft guys.
Trade
and
for him.
It'll be an interesting offseason, and we'll see what's good with San Antonio. Like I think it's exciting to be a Spurs fan, even if you don't win a title. I don't think that is the goal, but like, you can't win it every year, and they're not in a position to win right now. So, just kind of enjoy the ride. Like, let's have fun, see what the young guys are capable of, and whatever moves they make, we'll see what sort of direction that determines for them.
Y'all need to listen to his podcast with Gabe and Ben, because Gabe brought up that near the end of it, that it's like people underrate where we are in like respect to not contending, but being a relevant playoff team. I think we're still maybe a year or two removed from the playoffs, but we are farther along than people might think.
Yeah.
And also, I don't subscribe to this notion that Chip may be a good shooting coach, but he can't do anything for Ben Simmons. I disagree with that. I'm just putting that out there. That's not something that we need to really talk about, but like, I know everyone's like, he's not a miracle worker. It's like, well, I mean, he could at least remind Ben that like he has a right hand and you can shoot with it. That'd probably be a decent start. And from there, if he can turn him into a 30% 3-point shooter on 2 attempts a game, maybe like as his ceiling, like, or at least give him like even a below average midi, like over 2 or 3 years, he's going to be so incredibly dangerous everywhere else that it would be worth it. That's all I have to say. Chip can do stuff.
Like I said earlier, though, in terms of like saying how far along the Spurs are, I think this is maybe a Spurs team that was where the Suns were 3 years ago.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, yeah.
Like, I think that's
we
like
don't have Ayton or Booker.
I know you don't have.
Like,
I know you don't have that first round talent.
who says we won't have it soon?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
In the next 2 years, if we go all youth, I fully expect to be in the top 6 picking order somewhere next year. If we go full youth, I mean, like I said, I had it pinned to the top of my Twitter. I don't think DeMar leaving will win us games. We will lose more games than we would have with him for the next 2 or 3 seasons. But after that, we'll win a lot more because there's a great chance we'll be picking top 8 over the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
We could fall into the top 4. Maybe we get lucky and we're in position for a top 4 pick and get number 1 overall and snag a player like Cade or get like a Suggs or, maybe even get lucky or get a Mobley or something like that. Like us losing games over the next year or two and not tanking, just organically losing because we're a young team that is still figuring out talent, which is good for the team because they're finding their own identities. It'll be good for us because we'll get to see our young guys show out like we've wanted for 3 years. We'll get great picks and we'll be better off. I'm guessing in the next, probably by 2023 to 2024 season, I think we'll be a lot better.
It's a win-win situation going forward.
Yeah.
And because
for sure.
say that the young guys just show off, and they get you into the playoffs. Fuck yes, that's good. And say that they don't, and you get it. You still say that you do lose organically. You do get a really top pick, and plus, no matter which way that goes, the young guys get minutes, they get reps, and they develop.
Exactly.
So honestly, no matter which way it goes, yeah, it's gonna fucking suck. See them lose. I don't think they're going to enjoy it. I don't think we're going to enjoy it, but they're still going to get development. And I think that I still had fun. I had fun at the end of games that
City.
I had fun at games that were like blowouts and stuff because we got to see younger guys play. We saw a lot more Devin, saw a lot Trey, saw Luka. I enjoyed seeing those games just to watch those guys. So I know that it's not with everyone, but still, it's no matter which way this goes. I think it's a win-win. I think the only kind of lose situation is they make number 9 or 8 seed, and you're kind of stuck in mediocrity.
Which we will not be making the 8th or 9th seed, I don't think.
But still, no matter what, the guys are still developing. It's
we'll take organically.
But again, I don't know. I don't think anyone knows which way this team's going to go until you see them play, and until you give them the opportunity. I think that by the quarter way through the season, you might be able to tell which way the team's going to go, but we're not going to know until we get to December, January. So
I agree. I 100% agree.
So, all right. We've been going on for 2.5 hours. It's almost 10 o'clock here. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. First off, Noah, where can they find all your lovely content, including your own podcast?
Yeah, you can find me. Oh, sorry, I sounded weird.
Whoa.
You can find me on Twitter at @Magaro, Magaro. You can watch my YouTube videos at Noah Magaro-George on YouTube. You can find my podcast, Alamo City Limits, the official Spurs and podcast of SB Nation and Pounding the Rock. You can find that under Pounding the Rock for some reason. It's not listed as Alamo City Limits.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And just a quick shout out for that again. Just a reminder, we're going to be doing a live green room recording tomorrow with the draft dummies. We're going to be talking Josh Giddey. We're going to talk a few Spurs questions. And then at the very end, about 15 minutes, we're going to be doing a Q&A and a hot take sesh with Spurs fans. So if you want to be on the podcast, you want to hear yourself on the podcast, join us because it's going to be a lot of fun. And that's basically it.
If you're listening to this, because I'm going to post this as a podcast tonight, as we're recording on Thursday the 1st. So that's going to be Friday the 2nd. Do you have a specific timing that you're doing that?
Yeah, sorry, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Yeah, so if you're listening to that this Friday morning or something like that, go ahead and join Noah over at the Green Room. Nick, where can they find you?
At Nic Yarbro, NICYARBRO. And you can find me on At The Line Podcast. And soon I will probably be writing articles for someone. Whenever that is official, I'll tweet out about it. So that'll be fun. And we look forward to talking to y'all again. And we're all super excited about draft night because I think it'll be a big, long stream.
That's going to be a fun night.
You're going to see Drunk Nick, and it'll be fun.
I'm going to drive him
and
home.
Maybe a surprise guest.
Oh, really?
Ooh.
Our buddy.
Tell us after.
Maybe our buddy will join us.
Oh, that's a given. That's a given.
Macaroni.
Also,
and cheese.
I'm not sure you can really hide that when there's a camera on you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
no.
literally did this.
Yeah, you can see the hat. No, but yeah, it's going to be all 4 of us. It's going to be a great night. I'm still going to figure out this camera situation because the studio's not really set up for like a 3 camera stream, but you can follow me at the Ty Jager and check out all my content at the Spurs Zone. Make sure to check out Locked On Spurs as well for even more podcasts because again, everyone needs more content. Whoa. But make sure to check out News for San Antonio Spurs Zone. Make sure to follow At The Lion on Twitter as well, At The Lion Pod. Subscribe, follow, hit that like button, smash it, punch it, shoot finger guns at it. Just do something. Just in any way that you do, hit that like button, subscribe button, follow button, whatever. We highly appreciate it. And we can't wait to be giving you more content throughout this offseason and into next season. But for
You might have to edit that out.
Noah Magaro.
Reset so you can edit it out.
For Noah Magaro-George, Nic Yarbro, I'm Ty Jager, and this has been At The Line. We'll see you guys next time.
See ya. Enjoy.